You're watching, yes, the Yankees Entertainment and Sports Network.
The big boys are back to business today in Tampa. Giancarlo Stanton will anchor the lineup at DH. DJ LeMahieu is in the leadoff spot. His play-by-play mate, Gleyber Torres, will be at shortstop. Aaron Judge in his familiar spot in right field batting second, and Gary Sanchez will be behind the plate. It's a lineup loaded with stars for the Yankees. Welcome to Yankee Spring Training presented by Montefiore as the Yankees host the Detroit Tigers at George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, Florida. And it's great to have you with us this Friday afternoon. Bob Lorenz, John Flaherty, Jack Curry. It's a studio crew takeover this afternoon. We're getting our spring training reps in, guys, I guess, and we're going to follow a lot of storylines, Flash, including Gary Sanchez, sort of a season of redemption for him.
Yeah, Bob, we've been talking all offseason that Gary Sanchez has to come back to that all-star form if the Yankees are eventually going to get where they want to be, and that's to be a world champion. So far, so good. He's hit a couple of home runs. He's moving better behind the plate. He changed his offseason workouts, and it looks pretty good so far. He gets a chance to catch Domingo Germán today. First time we're going to see him, Jack.
First spring start for Germán. He has not pitched in a major league game in 534 days, so there are sure to be some nerves, sure to be some tension. On a team like the Yankees, as talented as they are, there's not a lot of open spots. Maybe one spot on the bench, maybe one or two spots in the bullpen. But there is a competition for that fifth starter spot in the rotation, and Germán is involved in that. The Yankees are hoping he can be the pitcher he was in 2019 when he won 18 and had an ERA around 4.
He has not been guaranteed anything in that rotation, so it is a challenge for Domingo Germán. We'll take a quick break. We've got first pitch as Germán gets set to take the mound. Yankees, Tigers, it is coming up next on Yes. Yankee Spring Training on Yes is brought to you by your local Ford stores. Ford is proud to be the official SUV of the New York Yankees. For current offers, visit buyfordnow.com. Let's get to the starting lineup for the Detroit Tigers this afternoon that will face Domingo Germán. It begins with Robbie Grossman, the switch hitter, DHing this afternoon, followed by Jacoby Jones in center field. Willie Castro is at short. Wilson Ramos will do the catching. Number 1 overall pick from 2020, Spencer Torkelson is in the lineup third. We'll talk about him. Harold Castro is at first. Akil Baddoo in left. Riley Green in right field. And Greg Garcia playing second base. And as I mentioned, they'll be facing Domingo Germán.
Yeah, manager A.J. Hinch is going to send that lineup out against the right-hander Domingo Germán. We see his numbers through 2017 through 19. And we'll take a look at our pitcher scouting report on Germán. And this is going to be the first step for him trying to get back in that Yankee rotation. Obviously coming back from the suspension. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is the first time out on the mound to make a positive impression. We have to remind ourselves, guys, this guy won 18 games 2 years ago. And he also threw 143 innings. My question, if he does make the rotation, can he throw those 143 innings or maybe a little bit more? We'll see.
Well, Jack, you mentioned how many days between major league starts it's been for Germán. He sat out last year serving an 81-game suspension for violating Major League Baseball's domestic violence policy. He's talked to Aaron Boone. He's had conversations with Brian Cashman as well as his teammates about that this spring.
Right, Bob, it's 534 days. That bears repeating since he pitched in a major league game. And you're right, one of the storylines that has rightfully hovered over him and will continue to hover over him were his actions. And he was going to originally address the media about the domestic violence incident, and then after talking to some teammates, including Aroldis Chapman, who himself had had a domestic violence issue, he first decided to speak to his teammates about it, and then he spoke to the media after that. And guys, I think it's interesting that a couple of his teammates, Zach Britton and Luke Voigt among them, talked about Germán's situation, and Voigt actually used the quote, "He's on thin ice." The Yankees want his actions to speak for him going forward, both off the field and on the field.
Well, he made that happen with Robbie Grossman. 3 pitches and a quick strikeout for Domingo Germán. Let's take a look at the Yankees defense this afternoon. From left to right, Brett Gardner in left, Aaron Hicks in center, and Aaron Judge out at right. At third base, Miguel Andujar, Gleyber Torres is short, DJ LeMahieu at second, Luke Voit at first, and Gary Sanchez doing the catching. And Jack, to your point about Germán, he met the media as well, and he said, I must show that I definitely can become a better person and let my actions speak for myself. So another swing and a miss on a good breaking ball right there, Flash. How important do you think it was for him, Flash, to pitch in winter ball to get some reps before he came to spring training?
Well, I think obviously it was important to get back out on the mound, get some innings underneath his belt, and curveball looks good early in this one. But, you know, getting back to addressing his teammates, I think every player in that Yankee clubhouse is going to kind of go about this their own personal way. Zach Britton, Jack, you talked about it, made some comments. Luke Voit, the same thing. But the bottom line, when Domingo Germán gets out on the mound, all his teammates are going to be behind him, hoping that he can help them win a big league ball game.
Well, to be truthful, too, they need him to be successful. I mean, as Flash mentioned, 2 seasons removed from winning 18 games.
And you look at the stuff, and Flash already mentioned the curveball, but I mean, this guy has fastball, curveball, changeup, slider. He slings the ball from the side. He's not an easy at bat. He's got a dynamic arm, and the hope is that he can be a force in that Yankee rotation. It's been a long time since he has pitched, and his self-imposed exile by his own actions, and now he's trying to get back there. Turns 29 in August, trying to prove again that he can be that major league quality pitcher.
Yeah, I mentioned in the scouting report, this is the first step back out on the mound, and guys, you know this better than anybody. This is where Domingo Germán is comfortable, right? Back out on the mound. You don't have to deal with the media, talk about the past. Let's get back to playing baseball and prove that he can help this team win.
Fastball down the middle on a 1-2 pitch out to right field, and Aaron Judge watches that sail into the stands.
Flash, it's kind of interesting. You talked about his curveball. He used to throw a slider and a curve, but he sort of shed the slider and just throws the curve now, even though sometimes the curve looks like it has slider properties.
Another breaking ball to Jacoby Jones, who lifts that out to right center. Hicks and Judge track it, and it's Hicks with a catch, 2 away. That'll bring up the number 3 hitter, Willie Castro, playing short today for the Tigers.
Well, one of the things you look for from a pitcher early on, and there's the breakdown of the curveball from 2019, is the stuff, obviously, velocity, break on the breaking ball, changeup, but more importantly, command of the strike zone. And early on, the first 2 outs, Domingo Germán just pounding the strike zone.
See DJ LeMahieu at second base. He is about a step or 2 out on the grass. Castro last season a .349 hitter with 6 homers and 24 runs batted in. One of the Tigers' most reliable hitters.
Bob Castro finished 4th in the American League Rookie of the Year voting. And the question for him this season, and even the Tigers are asking this internally, is it sustainable? He hit .349 last year in a small sample size. What can he do for them this year? He's a very aggressive hitter. And here's what's interesting in this launch angle world. 44% of the balls he put in play last year were on the ground. So it makes you wonder about that .349 and how sustainable that will be. But a terrific rookie season for him last year.
You know, that's kind of the fun for a lot of these teams, Flash, in seeing what can guys do over a complete 162 as opposed to an abbreviated season.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody talks about that 60-game season. If you had a good year, okay, it was just a regular year. If you had a bad year, it was a COVID year and didn't get the full reps and a chance to rebound. You know, the Tigers have a starter going today, and Matthew Boyd, will see him bottom half of the inning, who had a terrible 2020. He's a lot better pitcher than that.
So Germán ahead 1-2 on Castro. And a swing and a miss. Good outside fastball got him. So a 1-2-3 inning here for Domingo Germán. Half inning in the books. Yankees coming to bat next on Yes. And great to have you back once again with us here on Yes, as we get ready for the bottom of the first here in Tampa. Your starting lineup is loaded. DJ LeMahieu at second, leading off. Aaron Judge in right. Aaron Hicks in center. Giancarlo Stanton will DH. Luke Voit is at first. Gleyber Torres at short. Brett Gardner's out at left. Gary Sanchez doing the catching, and Miguel Andujar is at third base, and they will face the lefty, Matt Boyd.
Well, lefty Matt Boyd going through his warm-up tosses. We see the numbers from last year, and they are not pretty. A 6.71 ERA in 12 starts. We'll look at our pitchers scouting report on Boyd. That was a year to forget last year if you're Boyd. That's the bad news. He had that 6.71 ERA. The good news, he's got plenty of strikeout stuff. 2019 had 238 strikeouts, only 185 innings. So the stuff is there. And you remember all the way back to 2015, Boyd was traded for David Price.
Well, Boyd, you mentioned his numbers. Actually, last year, 6th in the American League in strikeouts, but gave up the most home runs in the majors. Here's your Tigers defense. Akil Baddoo out in left, Jacoby Jones in center, and Riley Green in right. Spencer Torkelson at third, Willie Castro at short, Garcia at second, the other Castro, Harold Castro at first, and Wilson Ramos doing the catching. So DJ LeMahieu leading things off. Of course, he led the majors last year in batting average with a 364 clip. Here's the first pitch from Boyd. And inside, ball one.
Bob, I feel like we have to let Jack talk about DJ LeMahieu. He talked about him all hot stove season on when he would be back, if he would be back. Well, he's back, Jack.
I was always on the side of saying he would return to the Yankees. I knew it was going to be a long process. Both sides wanted to be able to get what they felt they needed to get, and I think in the end it was a good compromise. LeMahieu's camp initially was looking for over $100 million. He ends up getting the $90 million. But because it was a 6-year deal, the Yankees get an average annual value on a top 5 MVP player of $15 million a year. LeMahieu's happy. The Yankees are happy. And Yankee fans should be happy.
Of course, Carlos Mendoza, the acting manager here, while Aaron Boone is recovering from having a pacemaker installed. Boone addressed the media today. We'll talk a little more about that later. But Mendoza doing a nice job filling in and getting a lot of praise from both Boone and Brian Cashman for how he has handled things. Here's the 2-2 to LeMahieu, and missing inside, ball 3.
Meredith is going to talk to Aaron Boone later, Bob, but in his Zoom call with other reporters, it was really encouraging and refreshing to hear him talk about how good he felt. And he had a little joke about Carlos Mendoza. He said, listen, it's okay for me to miss a couple of days. He said, but don't ever let Mendy miss a couple of days. He organizes everything.
And DJ LeMahieu able to check his swing, draws a leadoff walk. Typical LeMahieu, the on-base machine, and that sets the table there with Aaron Judge stepping up. 257 average last year in 28 games, 9 homers, 22 runs batted in. And hammers one out to right, but foul. Brian Cashman pregame addressed the fact that Eric Cressy is in his 2nd year as the strength and conditioning guru. And he got both Stanton and Judge to work more on flexibility and yoga. And Flash, how do you think that'll play out for them?
Well, you know, hopefully it will play out the right way and they can stay on the field and stay healthy. But, you know, Bob, every spring training players come back with different off-season programs and workouts. Gets away from Ramos a little bit, but, you know, I applaud the fact that they're trying something different to stay on the field, because everybody knows that if Stanton and Judge can play together for 162, they're going to be in a good place offensively. So we'll see if it pays off over the long run.
1-1 pitch from Boyd. And cuts a little breaking ball in there. Swing and a miss. Strike 2.
Bob, to Flash's point, and actually your point, Judge has played 130 of 222 games in the last 2 years. The last time he played a full season, really the only time in his career, 2017, he played 155 games, finished second in the AL MVP. Should have won the MVP that year.
Boyd missing inside, evens a count at 2-2.
Jack, don't you feel like it's kind of getting to that point that he has to put up that full season and those big numbers again? And you would know all the details, but coming up to free agency in a few years, be nice to put up a solid year, obviously, for the team and for himself.
And hot shot to third base. Spencer Torkelson right there. A line drive out for out number 1. Well, today's injury report brought to you by Montefiore, doing more. To your point, guys, last 2 seasons, Judge has played just those 130 games with oblique, shoulder, and calf issues. Stanton just 41 of those games with bicep, shoulder, calf, knee, hamstring, and quad issues. So they've only started together 31 times of those possible 222 games.
Yeah, Judge turns 29 next month. He'll be a free agent in 2023 when he'll be 31. He was actually asked this spring training, any contract discussions with the Yankees on anything long term, and he said, good question. And he said, no, nothing has happened in that regard yet. And I think, Flash, for both sides, you need to see the talent is there. The talent is incomparable with this guy. He's the Yankees' best two-way player. He's the face of their team. But the Yankees want to see him play the 140, the 150 games.
And Aaron Hicks, you could throw him into that pool of players. Last year, able to stay on the field for 54 of the 60 games. Had a very productive season, but they need to see that consistency. The great news, Flash, he's back from that Tommy John surgery, says he's 100%.
Yeah, I give Aaron Hicks a lot of credit for coming back as quickly as he did last year and was a productive player. But I think this offseason, to kind of rest a little bit and train regularly for a full season, I think we're going to see a big year from Aaron Hicks coming up.
He has a keen eye at the plate. We know that. He's an on-base and walks machine. He's behind 0-2 here to Boyd. And Boyd tries to spin one over the outside part of the plate down in the dirt. Hicks doesn't bite, so it's 1-2.
This would be a good test for the Yankee lineup. I mean, you face a lefty like Matthew Boyd, and you'd expect him to pitch everything out over the plate. You see some of the numbers for Hicks last year. But what we've seen in this first inning, Boyd will come in on right-handers. And when you're a right-handed batter early on in spring training, it's a good test to see if your hands are going to be quick enough to react to that fastball in the inner half.
LeMahieu's at first with 1 away and a pitch up in the zone, evens the count at 2-2. And Hicks lifts one out to right field. Should be an easy one for Green, and it is. 2 away. Giancarlo Stanton DHing and batting cleanup this afternoon for the Yankees. Saw his numbers from last season. Got his first couple at bats of the spring a couple games ago. I don't think he loved the results of what he had, but said he was seeing the ball pretty well, which is a good sign.
It's so early. Brian Cashman talked about it before the game. Obviously, we evaluate what's in front of us. Gary Sanchez has looked good with a couple of home runs, but for somebody like Stanton, it's about getting his timing down, getting the number of at-bats that he feels he needs during spring training to be ready for the season. And the Yankees hope and pray that he can be the guy he was in the postseason. 6 home runs and 31 plate appearances. Cashman said he felt as if Stanton was going to hit a home run every time he was up. That's how fierce he looked at the plate.
In 2020, you mentioned the postseason. Those 6 homers tied a franchise record. 1-1 pitch just over his shoe tops, and that'll allow LeMahieu to go to second base.
Kind of interesting about Stanton, too, guys. In the offseason, Brian Cashman said he's a DH. Here's that wild pitch again coming inside. But when he came into spring training, he was taking fly balls in the outfield. Aaron Boone said, we'll see. It gives us some flexibility if he can get out there in the outfield. Cashman had talked about those lower body injuries and trying to have Stanton avoid that. Obviously, his bat is what the Yankees need. But I think Boone wanted to make sure that you're keeping that door open to some flexibility of having Stanton, who is a very good athlete, play the outfield as well.
And I kind of like that, Jack. I mean, you know, Stanton is still a relatively young man. To just say, okay, you're a DH now moving forward, I don't know if that sits well with him, but it gives Aaron Boone the option if he can go out there in left field and play a few games.
2-1 for Boyd, misses inside.
You know the Yankees will be very careful with this, and I agree with you, Flash, with a cautionary flag attached to it.
Yeah.
Bitter cold night in April or soggy afternoon in May, you're not putting him out there. And obviously the Yankees will be very smart about how they did potentially use him in the outfield.
3-1 pitch is a fastball inside that misses, so Stanton draws a walk. 2 aboard here with 2 outs in the bottom of the first. Let's take a look at the weather in Tampa this afternoon. As you can see, another beautiful day, 78 degrees, 0 chance of rain. Slight wind at 6 miles per hour. Low humidity as well, so a beautiful afternoon of baseball at George M. Steinbrenner Field.
I hope Meredith Marakovitz is enjoying the weather in Tampa. 78 degrees. I was out early this morning and got in my car. It was a chilly 21 degrees with a little breeze from left to right, so enjoy it, Meredith.
Oh, Flash,
you can always count on that wind chill.
Feel so bad for you. I feel so bad for you. It's gorgeous. I was at the ballpark at 9 o'clock, and it was already a wonderful day here in Tampa, and they've really lucked out with some good weather. The night game on Wednesday was probably one of the coolest days we've had in about 2 weeks.
Was that 65?
I mean, it might have dipped to 59, maybe.
Breaking ball to Luke Voit with 2 away here. Voit, of course, 22 homers last year, led the majors. A 1 pitch misses inside.
Bob, you mentioned the 22 home runs lead the major leagues, and obviously everybody remembers that, but I just have a vivid memory of Luke Voit hobbling around the bases after he hit those home runs to continue to be as productive as he was, playing with that foot issue. Is that the way he described it all year long? I mean, that goes a long way for me, and I'm sure his teammates, the way he went out there and played hurt and was a very productive hitter.
I was going to say in the Yankee injury glossary for 2020, foot issue was right up there next to a hamstring.
That's now in the Harvard Medical Journal, I believe, foot stuff.
Flash brings up a great point. The Yankees rested many of their players last year, even in a 60-game season. And here was Voit playing 56 games, playing long stretches in a row where he didn't have a day off, and he's dealing with that foot issue.
1-2 fastball ripped to third base. Torkelson lays out, throws on to first, and a nice dig by Castro for the out there. So a couple hard hit balls result in outs at third base for the Yanks. As they leave 2 aboard, we head to the top of the second. Scoreless game in Tampa. Scoreless game in Tampa as we head to the top of the second. Earlier today, Aaron Boone had a chance to talk to Meredith Marakovitz, and Meredith asking him how he's feeling in the wake of having a pacemaker installed on Wednesday.
Aaron, first and foremost, how are you feeling?
I feel great. I really do. What a difference, you know, getting out of the hospital yesterday and then even waking up this morning. I just feel, it's hard to put into words how much better I feel than I did the last few months. And it makes you realize that, you know, I thought I wasn't feeling great, obviously, but the way I feel just waking up the last 2 mornings and getting rolling around today, I'm grateful that I got this done and ready to move forward.
What were some of the symptoms that you were experiencing that led you to get checked out and eventually have the procedure?
Yeah, it's been the last couple months. You know, I just felt like a little more lethargic, a little more fatigued. I was having some episodes where I would stand up and feel like I was almost going to black out, or certainly dizzy. I was really starting to get winded on some simple tasks, and especially I think the last week or so, I noticed it just like, I played catch the other day with Glaber, and when I got done with it, I was just like winded just from playing catch, and I think just some people, I think even a few of the coaches that I told, and I told Cash, but I think like Hark and Nev started that. I wasn't quite myself or quite as good, so they played a role in helping me, get my butt in there, and I'm really excited that I did it, and feel great right now.
Prior to going in for the procedure, it was important to you that you spoke to your team first and they actually saw you. Why was that such an important step in the process of getting this done for you?
Yeah, just because I really hadn't spoken to anyone about it. I kind of went into the hospital a little suddenly the night before, like I hadn't planned on doing that, and I just wanted them to know that I was very at ease with everything that I knew I was going to have to go through the next couple of days. I just wanted to make sure that they weren't too worried about me, and that they were focused on the task at hand, which is obviously getting ready for our season. But I just thought it was important that I communicated with them, because I know, having gone down this heart road a lot over the course of my life, I know when people hear things, it gets your attention when it's a matter of the heart, and I totally understand that. I just wanted to make sure that they knew that I was in a good place and going to be all right.
What did they tell you in the video they sent back to wish you well?
Yeah, so Guardy was out in front with it and kind of spoke for everyone, and it was cool to see them, and knowing that they care, and just wanted to make sure I was all right. And then hearing some of the wise comments at the end that guys chimed in with was really funny.
When you had the first heart procedure, did you always know this could be a possibility down the line?
No, not this. I've always known that there's something related to what I went through that, maybe pop up, but I do think this is something that's different. And that's why when I originally went through all my checkups and stuff back in New York and then down here, everything was checking out well with the procedure I had and with the issues I've had in the past. So this is something different. I did not expect this at all. It very much snuck up on me, but I'm glad we got to the bottom of it, because I really do feel so much better.
You seem like you have a ton of energy, like you mentioned. When are you going to be back here at Steinbrenner Field?
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe, tomorrow we're on the road. I'm hoping to, if right now it's about passing intake. I mean, I'd probably be there today if it wasn't for that. So I got tested yesterday. Today, I actually came to the parking lot to get a rapid test a little bit earlier. So hopefully all goes well with that, and I'm back in our little bubble, so to speak, and I can get back to work.
Will there be any restrictions when you come back? Do you have to manage your lifestyle or your stress level in any certain way?
No, I don't think so. I'm as full bore. In fact, I can't wait to, hop back on the Peloton, because I've been really slacking in that department, and it's been because of this. So I'm hoping my first ride is a lot better, and I can start raising my ranking again on there a little bit. My arm is the one thing. So probably for the next month, I'm not allowed to really do much with my left arm, or lift as much weight or anything like that. So I might be a little frail over the next month, but I'll put that back on. Don't worry about it.
I know you are itching to get back here and to see your guys play. Luckily, we'll have you for 9 innings today on the Yes Network, so you can watch your team that way. But we are all extremely happy that you came through the procedure well, and we're going to see you back on the field soon.
Thanks, Meredith, and thank you to you and everyone with Yes, and just everyone really throughout the world. That it's been overwhelming, the amount of people that have reached out to me, and it's been touching and humbling, and I'm so grateful for it, and just happy to hopefully get back here real soon. But thank you.
Aaron Boone, Sounds like get well soon. Maybe we're too late for that. He's excited just to get back to the ballpark. Jack, he got as far as the parking lot today.
I watched the Zoom conference call that he had with reporters, and he said his son was out, he was at the stadium, and he so much wished he could have stayed, but obviously with COVID protocols he had to get his test, make sure he gets a negative. And great job by Meredith with that interview. I found it very interesting, guys, that a couple of hours before he's getting ready to have the pacemaker inserted, Yankees have a Zoom meeting with their coaching staff every day. There's Aaron Boone doing the Zoom meeting from the hospital bed. That's a leader right there. That's a guy who says, listen, I'm in this with you. I want you to know I'm going to be okay. I'm here for the meeting.
Well, he's watching Domingo Germán in a nice top half of the second inning. It was a leadoff double, ground rule double by Wilson Ramos, but then a strikeout of Spencer Torkelson and a pop from Harold Castro. So here's Akil Baddoo.
Baddoo is a Rule 5 pick from the Twins, Bob, drafted in the second round by the Twins in 2016. The Tigers taking a shot on him, 22 years old, never played above A ball. So obviously with the Rule 5 pick, in order for the Tigers to keep him, he's got to make their 26-man roster. So Baddoo looking to impress this spring.
Germán has looked good so far. Flash fastball, good change-ups away.
Yeah, I would say the only thing, the curveball may be rolling a little bit here in the second inning, but I'm with you. Good movement on the fastball. Changeup has been excellent. And I had always worried about Domingo with his mechanics, where he kind of falls off towards first base, and that maybe location wouldn't be a strength of his, but that's obviously not a problem today. He's all over the strike zone. 2-2 count here.
30th pitch of the afternoon. We saw Michael King up in the bullpen getting ready. Germán, little breaking ball inside and misses, so 3-2.
3-2.
Now, Flash, you learned something here about a pitcher. You're at 3-2. I know it's spring, but you got to come up with that finishing pitch to get the strikeout.
Yeah, you wonder if the changeup is going to be the weapon here. First base open. You know, the 19th season, you see some of the numbers for Germán. You know, probably this is going to be his last inning. See if he throws a changeup here. He does.
And gets a strikeout. So 2 strikeouts the inning for Germán, as he looked very good in his spring debut. We're through 1.5. Yankees coming up, bottom of the second. Again, another strikeout for Germán. Yankee Spring Training on Yes is presented by Montefiore, doing more in state-of-the-art healthcare for Westchester, the Hudson Valley, and the Bronx. Through 1.5 at George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. It's a scoreless game so far. A hit for the Tigers. It's a ground rule double by Wilson Castro. Yankees sending their 6, 7, 8 hitters up here in the bottom half of the second, starting with shortstop Gleyber Torres. Matthew Boyd in a second inning of work. Misses inside, ball 1.
Bob, Flash brought this up before about the 60-game season last year and not letting it obscure perhaps some guys who had down seasons. I'm a little surprised at how many people want to jump off that Gleyber Torres bandwagon based on his season last year. 38 home runs in 2019. An elite hitter with a great approach at the plate, shortening up his swing on 2 strikes. Yes, did he struggle defensively last year? Absolutely. His own general manager, Brian Cashman, talked about not being in the best shape that they wanted him to be. We're talking about a 24-year-old kid who, to me, is a perennial all-star.
Flash, do you think, knowing that spring training 2.0, he didn't come back in the best shape, and then having Brian Cashman actually mention that it got in his head a little bit and made him tighten things up for this season?
Well, I'm sure it got his attention. If a general manager is making a comment like that, if you're a player, you better pay attention to that. And then, you know, this is the first look that I've gotten to see of Gleyber. Looks like he's in good shape. And I'm with Jack. I mean, we just showed that graphic on how he finished up last year. I think that's what he probably took into the offseason, said it was a 60-game season. It was a strange season. He's talked about that. Now you come back and you look to be healthy, first of all, and productive for entire 162.
3-2 pitch from Boyd. And a breaking ball, swing and a miss, got him. Our him for out number 1.
You can see how Boyd will be effective. I mean, he runs that fastball in on the righties. He's been beating the righties with the fastball, and then he comes with a slider where Ramos just sits middle of the plate and it dives down and in, and Gleyber swings right over the top.
Flesh, I was impressed by Boyd's honesty. Reading a couple of interviews that he's done this offseason. He had some lower body issues last year, plantar fasciitis and a hamstring issue. And he felt that that impacted his delivery and altered his mechanics. But he didn't use that as an excuse. He said, listen, I'm good enough to still succeed with my stuff, no matter what is going on out there in the mound. And it reminded me of something that David Cohn has repeatedly said. When you, in your day, would have a pitcher who would say something like that, just owning that 6+ ERA, I have to believe that as a teammate, you're heartened to hear that.
Brett Gardner flicks one out into center field for out number 2.
Well, Jack, you know this better than anybody, but you mentioned that. I think of Derek Jeter. Right? If you're on the field, you're not hurt. You're out there. You're good enough to go out there. You got to perform. So we'll see if the injuries are behind Boyd and he can lead the staff, which probably at the end of the year is going to be a young staff.
Gary Sanchez batting 8th this afternoon for the Yankees. On Monday against the Tigers, hit an absolute bomb to center field. And he waves at a pitch low in the zone, strike 1.
Well, guys, I talked about Gary in the open, and you can make the argument that the Yankees are going to go as far as Gary Sanchez will take them. I mean, he's hit 2 home runs already. He's talked about changing up his offseason program, and so far, so good. Not only with the power driving this over the batter's eye in center field, but moving a little bit better behind home plate and looking a little bit lighter. So if the Yankees can get him back, I mean, what an advantage to have a catcher who can swing the bat like that, but more importantly, do a better job defensively behind the plate.
0-2 pitch. And lifting one out to left center field. And Badu has it, and that will do it. So a 1-2-3 inning for Matt Boyd. We'll take it to the top of the 3rd, scoreless in Tampa. Welcome back to Yankees spring training, brought to you by Ford. Top of the 3rd inning as the Tigers send the 8-9-1 hitters to the plate, and they'll face a new pitcher for the Yankees after 2 clean innings for Domingo Germán. It's Michael King. And Jack, what piece of the puzzle can Michael King be for the Yankees this season?
Well, he's another starter pitcher, I should say, Bob, who is competing for a spot in the rotation or a spot in the bullpen. He could be a starter for you. He could be that swingman type pitcher. The Yankees like his stuff. His 2-seamer is his best pitch, and that was a pitch that deserted him in his first spring training outing against the Blue Jays. He elevated it. He was getting balls hit in the air. That's not King's game. He needs to have that 2-seamer work for him to get ground balls. He wanted to throw more changeups against the Blue Jays as well, and he was trying to get those to run in arm side to his right side, and that didn't work for him either against the Blue Jays. So he needs to tighten things up, because this is a competition. This is an audition to try and show that he can be part of that 2021 staff.
Facing right fielder Riley Green, knuckles one to short, on to first, one away.
Yeah, Jack, and to your point, I think if you're a manager, coaching staff, front office, I mean, the first outing, the first week of games, I don't really pay attention to that. But when you're a guy like Michael King trying to get a spot on this team, things need to get a whole lot better. And the first thing you said was swingman. And I think how important that could be this year with the Yankees and every other team around Major League Baseball trying to figure out how to cover all the innings with only a 60-game season last year.
Here's a number 9 hitter, Greg Garcia. Guys, is it safe to say that most every team in the majors will employ either a 6-man rotation or some hybrid thereof?
Absolutely. I mean, the Tigers are already saying they're probably going with a 6-man rotation. And you talk to everybody around Major League Baseball, the biggest concern is how do we cover innings? We're going to need a guy like Michael King to pitch out of the bullpen, maybe have some spot starts. You're going to need pitchers that are going to be optioned down to the minor leagues and back to the big leagues to cover some innings. And it's not only the Yankee problem, it's every team in Major League Baseball trying to figure this out.
I was talking to Buck Showalter, obviously former Yankee, Oriole, Diamondback manager, 3-time manager of the year. And Flash, he said exactly what you just talked about. And one of the points that he brought up was there is going to be tremendous value in having guys that you can option out of your bullpen. You're going to need that 1 or 2 revolving door out of the bullpen so you can have some fresh arms and be able to bring some pitchers up. He said it's a hidden thing that not everyone might realize, but he said there's a lot of value. And of course, King fits that profile. Nick Nelson fits that profile. Miguel Andujar fields that ground ball. So those type of pitchers are going to have tremendous value.
2 quick outs from Michael King. You know, it's funny, if all your everyday regulars do their job and stay healthy, you don't even think about them, right? They're writing their own storylines. But Flash, you imagine being Aaron Boone or any other manager trying to figure out how many innings your starting pitcher can give you, at least early in the season. And then as that goes, who's your reliable middle guys that can give you 1 or 2 innings and then get it to the back end of that bullpen?
Yeah, I think that all develops and evolves during the year, Bob. And I've actually enjoyed Tyone, the way he's talked about that, right? Obviously coming back from 2 Tommy Johns, and he was thinking, okay, maybe I could throw 120, 140 innings. And then he said, wait a second, why am I limiting myself already before I go out on the mound? So I think A.J. Hinch, the new manager of the Tigers, has mentioned this. Let's just run them out there and see what we have, and then eventually we're going to make some adjustments along the way. If we have to back somebody up a little bit, maybe we could push somebody forward. I think that's the right way to go about it. Just kind of keep an open mind and pay attention day to day to how your guys are doing.
King tries to whistle one in on the inside part of the corner and misses. 2-1.
That is a great miss, though, there,
Yeah.
right? Flash, I mean,
Yeah.
I still are you nodding your head, but you put a pitch there. That's a good take by Grossman, who has a really good eye, but that's exactly what King needs to do.
And King quickly comes back, gets one over the middle of the plate, foul ball, evens the count at 2-2. Ground ball right side. LeMahieu is there. Nice 13-pitch inning for Michael King here in the top of the 3rd, and it's a 1-2-3 inning. Still scoreless in Tampa as we head to the bottom of the 3rd. Great to have you back with us here on Yes, and a scoreless ball game in Tampa, Florida, as we head to the bottom half of the 3rd inning. And this is us from the studio. The hot stove set. Bob Lorenz, John Flaherty, Jack Curry, of course, Meredith reporting from Tampa. And the Tigers have a new pitcher, Brian Garcia, who, Jack, ended up being their closer in September and was pretty impressive.
Interesting pitcher Garcia is, Bob. He faced 93 hitters last year. He did not allow a home run. He doesn't strike batters out, though. In this world of power arms and power bats, he is a guy who has a very low strikeout rate, 13%. He has a very low swing and miss rate, 16%. Yet you saw the other numbers. The other numbers are solid. He was a very effective pitcher across 21 in the 3rd innings. He gets a fly out there. A.J. Hinch hasn't anointed him the closer again this year. He has said it's going to be a competition, but Garcia, a University of Miami product, has done a really good job. They think, the Tigers do, that if he throws his fastball up in the zone a little bit more, that could lead to more swings and misses. But really solid season for him last year.
Well, it led to swing and contact there, and you could see Andujar was frustrated because he bit on that fastball up in the zone and wasn't able to do anything with it, resulting in a fly ball to right field. So 1 away, back to the top of the Yankees lineup in DJ LeMahieu. LeMahieu drew a walk and got to 2nd on a wild pitch in the top half of the 1st inning.
So, Bob, because we're in the studio, we obviously have the luxury of seeing different camera angles. And I love the fact that we can see the home plate cam showing the defense right now. And they can't shift against DJ LeMahieu. Now, the center fielder, Jones, is a little bit shaded toward right field. But in 2 seasons as a Yankee, DJ LeMahieu has never been shifted against. Why? Because he hits the ball to all fields. He is a dynamic contact hitter, and there's the look right there.
And a patient hitter, as he just looks at that changeup right there from Garcia, lets it go, so it's 1-2.
Well, I think one of the greatest compliments you can give any hitter is that they're not afraid to hit with 2 strikes, and that's DJ LeMahieu all day long.
And from Garcia, that was a good pitch to maybe get a little swing or no contact there, but LeMahieu holds up, so it's 2-2.
Well, DJ's approach is so simple day in and day out, but especially with 2 strikes. Let the ball travel, let the ball get deep. If you throw it out over the plate, I'll hit it to right field. If it's inside, I'll fight it off and live to see another day, see another pitch.
And Garcia just missing outside, so the count goes full at 3-2.
A good 2-seamer right there. Starts it out over the outside part of the plate, tried to bring it back. And you see since 2019, contact percentage, strikeout percentage, and opposite field percentage, pretty impressive.
Payoff pitch. And LeMahieu lifts one into foul territory. I'll give it a look, but into the seats.
Had an interesting conversation the other day, guys, with Pete Rose. Talking to Pete Rose for a project I'm working on. And in the idea of shifts, he said much more difficult to hit 300 today because of shifts. And I know a lot of older players sometimes don't want to say the game is better today or the game was better than I played. I was surprised at how he talked about the shifts just taking away so many hits. It makes it tougher on the hitter, and that's where a guy like LeMahieu doesn't have to fight that.
I'm surprised to hear that, though. You think of the great Pete Rose, right? Be able to hit the ball anywhere he wanted to. If they shifted against him, I would think he would look at that as an advantage. I'll be able to shoot a ball the other way.
I was a little surprised, too. We were talking about Paul O'Neill. That was one of the topics I was talking to him about, and how O'Neill would hit the ball to all fields. And I told him that Paul thinks that hitters should adapt more today. And that led to, speaking of adapting, on cue, DJ LeMahieu comes through with that inside-out Jeterian swing going the other way. And Rose just said that those shifts, they smother you, that they're right on top of you.
Another look at the pitch. It's a changeup, middle, down and in. And again, anything off speed, let it travel. Good look from the side here. Doesn't go out to get it, lets it travel, get deep, and fight it off the other way.
But hitters like LeMahieu and Rose Flash, to your point, would find a shift an advantage for them because they can use the whole field. I'm not sure every hitter has that skill set, right?
I agree they don't, but when I think of Pete Rose, I think if he would be, Wade Boggs would wear out a shift if teams tried to employ that against him. So, again, a great look at it here. Aaron Judge hits a ground ball to right field. That's a base hit, which would be good for him. But I'm sure A.J. Hinch would say, if Aaron Judge wants to hit a ground ball the other way and beat a shift, go for it. I'm worried about him going deep, not hitting a base hit the other way.
In his first at bat, he lined hard to third base. And a swing and a miss on a breaking ball away evens the count at 1-1. Judge gets a fastball and hammers one out to right field. Green is tracking it, and he's got it about a step away from the wall as LeMahieu retreats to first. That's out number 2. Judge hoping he got just enough of that to get it out of the park, but it ends up in Green's glove.
Well, obviously we showed a shot. We're in the studio watching this, but whenever you get to Steinbrenner Field first thing in the morning, you pay attention to where that wind is blowing. And in spring training, there are a lot of wind-blown home runs. Obviously, Judge didn't get it all. Thought he might have had enough to get it out of there.
So 2 away with LeMahieu at first, and Aaron Hicks, who flew out to right field in his first at bat, is at the plate. Facing the left-hander Boyd, who's batting right-handed in his first at bat, now flips over to the left-hand batter's box. It looks at a pitch low, 1-0.
Bob, you mentioned Hicks's plate discipline earlier. He really is the symbol for do not stop your statistical research at AVG. Do not stop at the average. He had 225 last year. You've got to look at the on-base percentage, 379. He's going to get on base there with a ball that trickles past the second baseman, or it did more than trickle.
Green has more problems handling it out in right field. That allows LeMahieu to go to third base. So a base hit, an advanced runner for the Yanks. They have first and third, 2 away.
Well, we talk about the shifts, and if you hit it this hard, you can hit it right through a shift as Garcia lays out. Deflects it a little bit. Green able to make the play, but couldn't come up with it clean. LeMahieu makes his way to third base.
It's officially scored an E9. Nevertheless, Hicks is aboard, and the Yanks are threatening here in the bottom of the third. Stanton at the plate, drew a walk in his first at bat. Looks at a breaking ball in for a strike, strike one. And Stanton fouling one off. He never even gets cheated on foul balls, does he, Flash?
That's a good swing right there. And you think back to the postseason, we already showed the numbers from what he did last year. But when I watched him in the box during the postseason, he just seemed to be so relaxed, so balanced, wasn't trying to go out there and get the baseball, letting it come to him. That swing right there was right on time. He just missed it.
0-2 pitch. Another breaking ball and a chopper to short. Castro has it, and that will do it. So the Yankees threaten in the bottom half of the third with runners at first and third. Don't push any across. Still scoreless as we head to the fourth. Some of the snapshots of spring training. Some new teammates trying to impress, like Corey Kluber. Giancarlo Stanton looking to impress with his bat as the DH. And Gio Urshela back from that right elbow surgery and feeling good so far as we welcome you back. Tampa, Florida, and George M. Steinbrenner Field in a scoreless game here, top of the fourth between the Yankees and Tigers on yes. And it's the 2-3-4 hitters for Michael King in this one. Jacoby Jones, Willie Castro, and Wilson Ramos. Jones flew out in the first inning to center field. King impressive in his first inning of work, 3 ground ball outs on 13 pitches. And Jack, let's say you can only have a starter go 4 or 5 innings out of the gate, building up those pitch counts. Would he be a good guy who could fill in a couple innings middle of a game?
Yeah, I think his versatility and his flexibility, and this is perfectly scripted for him here, Bob. 4 outs, 4 ground outs. That's who Michael King is. I think he absolutely could be that type of pitcher and serve that type of role for the Yankees. Real quickly, let's say the Yankees have a 13-man pitching staff and a 5-man rotation, even though we know that might not be the case. 8 relievers. Chapman, Britton, Green, O'Day, Wilson, and Sessa are guarantees. That's 6. Well, why is it? Because the odds-on favorite for the 7th spot. So you're looking at that 8th spot. King, Nelson, Abreu. What happens with Garcia? I think he ends up in the rotation. Schmidt is injured, so kind of eliminate him from the conversation right now. I think King is pushing hard to get one of those final spots, whether it's in the rotation or in the pen. I would lean toward the pen right now, but he can decide his own fate with the way he pitches this spring.
I just smile here, guys, because spring training is so different for every player that comes into camp. A guy like King has to go out there, has to impress. Nice piece of hitting right there going the other way, because as Jack's pointing out, he's fighting for a job. Nick Nelson, they're fighting for a job. You can't just go out there and get your work in. You have to try to impress, and we see the rotation options. And Jack mentioned Schmidt. Unfortunately, he's going to be a little bit behind with some of those forearm issues, but there's plenty of options right there. You figure that there are going to be some guys who might not be ready to go, some guys who go down during the year. And of course, Luis Severino is expected to come back from Tommy John surgery at some point.
Here's Wilson Ramos. Jack, I think Severino is a huge wild card. When can he come back, and how does he perform when he gets back?
Brian Cashman was asked about that today, and he didn't want to lay out a calendar, but Severino himself has talked about summer, June, July. You're never going to rush a guy back, but you are going to wait very happily and very hopefully that you not only get Severino back, but that you get Severino at his pinnacle. And then you start to look at that Yankee rotation and what it could be as you peek ahead to late in the season and a potential postseason.
And a strike on the inside corner. You saw that Ramos didn't really love that call. And King is quickly ahead 0-2.
And Severino, Bob, expected to throw off a mound next week. So again, just taking that process post Tommy John surgery. There's a lot you have to go through. Pitchers who have endured it talk about needing to be patient. There's really nice moving inside fastball by King. He looks strong today.
Yeah, you mentioned his last outing against the Blue Jays, a little timid, not really sharp, but his body language right now is telling us he can pound the strike zone with that good movement, working the ball in and out. See if he can finish it off here in the fourth.
Well, this is Spencer Torkelson, their first overall pick in 2020. Major League Baseball Pipeline has him as the third overall prospect in baseball. He could see time at both first and third this season. He's at third base today, but so far in Tigerland, he's been known for the finger incident in spring training. He and two of his teammates lived together in an Airbnb. It was his turn to make dinner. He's opening up a can of beans. The Airbnb didn't have a can opener, so they tried an alternate route, and he ended up slicing his index finger. Needed a couple stitches. But he said before they went to get him stitches, they actually went to the store and bought a can opener. So
he was the first pick in the draft, right?
Yeah.
And I read he got over $8 million.
8.4 million, 8.1 above slot.
So
yep.
I don't know how much can openers cost.
Less than 8.1 million.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Veteran move after, because he said, I realized, you know what? If you don't have the can opener, drive the 5 minutes down to Walmart and go get one.
He had a good sense of humor about it, Bob, because he also subsequently did a running drill one day where he wore a new pair of cleats, some plastic bottoms, and as he was running around first base, he did a tumble. So he said he was making a lot of noise away from actual baseball, which, stay tuned, he's going to make a lot of noise on the baseball field too.
Well, that's a ground ball to third base, and Duhar on to first. That will do it. We'll talk more about Torkelson coming up, but again, a prospect to watch for the Tigers. Good inning again by Michael King right there. We'll take it to the top half of the fifth. Scoreless in Tampa. Great to have you back with us here on Yes as we take it to the bottom half of the fourth inning. And the Yankees sending up their 5, 6, 7 hitters: Luke Voit, Gleyber Torres, and Brett Gardner. They'll face a lefty in Tyler Alexander. 14 games last year, including a couple starts for the Tigers.
Bob, Alexander was drafted by the Tigers out of high school in 2013. He's a 23rd round pick. He said, no thanks, I don't want to sign. 2 years later, they drafted him again, second round. A little more money for a second round pick. This time he signed, and he made a bit of a name for himself last year against the Reds in August. Came in relief, struck out 9 straight batters.
Wow.
One shy of Tom Seaver's all-time record of 10 straight. So when A.J. Hinch and pitching coach Chris Fetter were trying to get their pitchers this spring to focus on getting ahead in the count, they showed a video. Who do you think was starring in the video? Mr. Alexander,
yes,
from that 9 strikeout performance.
Well, the Yankees hoping he does not have his strikeout stuff this afternoon, but he's ahead of Luke Voit, 0-1.
Well, the Tigers obviously in a rebuild situation, 23-35 last year. Good swing by Voit, and you know, it's been the same old story in Detroit for years, right? They can score runs, but what can they do out on the mound? And you know, they've got some young prospects coming up. A guy by the name of Skubal, Casey Mize is going to be a quality right-handed pitcher, Matt Manning. So they're planning on these guys coming at some point, either this year or next year, and being the kind of anchors of their rotation. If they can figure out how to score some runs, maybe develop some young pitching. And they have a new manager in A.J. Hinch, who served his suspension He's back now trying to lead this organization as Nick Nelson getting his gun hot. It'll be interesting to see if Detroit can make a step forward this year.
And they have sprinkled in some veteran signings. There's Jonathan Scope is on the roster. They just signed Nomar Masara, who's going through the protocols to the intake protocols. So guys who can help them and help the youngsters along. And everybody, I think Flash could probably look to Miguel Cabrera, right, going into his 19th season.
Absolutely. And some of those veterans that you mentioned, they're on short-term deals. So good breaking ball off speed pitch right there. Voit swings right over the top. But the veteran guys are on short-term deals, right? So you come in, you fill a hole maybe for a year, and you keep developing your minor league system, which Jack, did I read, is #2 in Major League Baseball with their minor league system and the quality of their prospects. So they're on the right track if they can develop some good young players.
Well, Flash, you already mentioned a couple, Mize and Manning, and they're in their top 10 in their organization and highly rated. Torkelson, of course, is #1. Here's Gleyber Torres, foul ball, straight back, 0-1.
Baseball America has their system ranked fifth, but obviously a very fertile farm system, and you guys have pointed out some of the younger players. Ramos, the catcher behind the plate, he's a veteran presence, a two-time All-Star who's supposed to help catch some of those younger pitchers. But I found this interesting. Robbie Grossman signed a 2-year deal with them. First multi-year deal the Tigers had given to a player in 5 years.
Wow. That's some turnover. That's churning players through the system. And Gleyber, who struck out in his first at bat, lifts one out to right. That ball just keeps flying. It's over the wall and a nice catch by the fan. And the Yankees are on the board on the Gleyber home run. They're up 1-0.
Well, we talked about Gary Sanchez having a hot start to his spring, and the confidence level rises because of what he went through last year. Gleyber Torres finished the year on the right note, but he needs to have a good spring training to get his mind right and get back on track. And when you can drive a baseball the other way, the big leg kick, front foot down, and that ball is middle, down, and in. We saw Gleyber go down on his right knee and just drive this out of the ballpark the other way. Really good sign for him.
So Yanks up 1-0. Gardner calls timeout. Brett Gardner flew out to center field in his first at bat. And a chopper, and he'll try and leg that out. Fielded by the shortstop, Castro, and Gardner pulls up to ground ball out. 2 away.
Well, take a look from the side. Watch that back knee. Goes all the way down and drives the baseball out the other way. Obviously, you use your hands to swing a bat, but Gleyber Torres using his lower body to drive it out the other way. It's a good sign early in spring training.
And here's Gary Sanchez, flew out to left field in his first at bat. And you mentioned this earlier. I kind of equate him, if he can. We always talk about Aaron Judge. When he's in that lineup, what a threat he is. Now he changes that lineup. Isn't a highly performing Gary Sanchez exactly the same? You know, last year teams looked at him potentially as, well, we got this out, let's worry about some other guys, because he wasn't having the season he could at the plate. If he's dialed in, you worry about Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, the first thing Gary has to do is prove he can hit the fastball, because last year the scouting report was pretty simple. Throw fastballs and elevate them, and he's not going to be able to catch up. So that's the first hurdle that he has to clear. And then I think he's made some good adjustments this winter, and Brendan Cuddy wrote a great article on NJ.com kind of detailing how he got into flexibility and wants to open up his midsection a little bit and just be a little bit quicker. And I thought that was a huge step for him. The quickness is going to be more important than the size and the power. So we'll see if it translates over 162.
And making sure you don't give up any at-bats, and that was a nice check right there to hold up on that pitch inside. So a 1-2 pitch, and time called again.
And again, we talk about how spring training is different for everybody. Gary Sanchez is on this team. We know that. He's going to come out of the gate as a starting catcher, but he needs to have a good spring for himself, confidence-wise, to go into the season.
Stays alive, fouling that one away.
And people will listen to that and say, well, what are you talking? It's spring training. Well, guess what? When you come off a year like Gary had last year, you're looking for anything positive, and a good spring training, you know, whether it's against, you know, a Detroit Tiger team or a middle reliever, it doesn't matter. Your mind will tell you, I'm back, I'm healthy, and I'm right on time, and I'm going to have a good year.
1-2 pitch with 2 away. And Alexander misses low. Good take by Sanchez. Evens a count at 2-2.
In terms of those fastballs, guys, and hitting the fastball, he said this year he was trying to stay back more, stay a little more anchored on his backside. That's what batting coach Marcus Timms had talked to him about doing, and he thought that that would enable him to catch up to some of those fastballs that he just simply missed last year.
And a strike 3 looking there for Sanchez, but Gleyber Torres strikes the first amount of damage here for the Yankees as he launches his ball out to right center field for a solo shot. Yanks up 1-0 as we head to the 5th. Great to have you back with us here on Yes as we head to the top half of the 5th inning. Yankees and Tigers, and Yankees leading this one 1-0 on the Gleyber Torres home run. Pleased to be joined by acting manager Carlos Mendoza now. And Carlos, sounds like he got some good news today when Aaron Boone showed up, but he could only get as far as the parking lot to get tested for COVID, and he went away, but it sounds like he's going to be back very soon.
Yeah, that was great news. You know, spoke with him this morning, and obviously knowing that he was coming in, and I knew he wanted to come in all the way in the locker room and stay here, but obviously because of the protocols and the intake and all that, he couldn't. But that was good to hear, good talking to him, and you know, glad that everything went well with him. So.
Well, it's good to hear that Aaron Boone is doing well, and when we watched him, Carlos, on that Zoom call, it was smiles all the way around, so I think that tells us everything we need to know. But part of what came out of those conversations with Aaron and Brian Cashman, the praise for you and the job that you have done, not only as the bench coach, but running spring training, and how important you are to this organization. That must make you feel pretty good.
Well, that's good to hear. Obviously, you know, it takes a lot, you know, and with the help from a lot of people, makes things a lot easier. You know, obviously, it's a big puzzle that we're trying to put together here with, you know, so many players, so many staff members in different locations, and you know, the fact that I got a great group of coaches and a lot of help from a lot of different people from the player development side and, you know, support staff that, you know, like I say, make things a lot easier.
Carlos, it's been a long road back for Domingo Germán. 17.5 months since he pitched in a major league game. He comes out 2 pretty strong innings. What have you seen from Germán, both on and off the field, as he makes his way back to being a Yankee?
Yeah, it was great to see Domingo on the mound today. Obviously facing big league hitters, even though it was a spring training game after a long layoff. I thought he looked good. You know, I thought he looked good today. Fastball, hot live. Thought he touched 95. The movement was good. He was aggressive in the zone, and the changeup, you know, changeup was really good. He was able to use it when he was ahead in the count, when to put hitters away, and when he was behind in the count as well. So breaking ball was sharp too. So it was good step for Domingo, and obviously, you know, he came into camp in really good shape. You know, we saw some bullpen, some live BPs, and he looked good. You know, but obviously, you know, you wait till for the real games, the real competition, and you know, a good step for Domingo, and you know, we should continue to help him and continue to get him ready.
Well, this is the Yankees' 3rd pitcher of the afternoon, and Nick Nelson, who got a ground ball first out off the bat of Harold Castro, and faces Badu now. You know, last season, Carlos, for pitchers, it was a season unlike any other. Do you feel like this year it's going to be the same? We talked about this a little earlier, how there are potential 6-man rotations and more young guys who can help teams out.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a challenge for every team, you know, after playing only 60 games and now getting ready for 162 plus, you know, it's going to take a lot of guys, you know. We're going to need the help from everyone, you know. Having those conversations already with how we're going to manage those innings from, you know, everybody from the rotation, and guys like, you know, Nelly, King, Lowe, you know, guys that can go multiple innings, you know. Those conversations obviously are taking place, and, you know, trying to put the best plan for those guys for the year, because, you know, it's going to be a challenge for everyone.
You know, Carlos, one of the players that you have worked very closely with during his development is Gleyber Torres, and playing shortstop, and obviously driving that ball out to right center field, a good start for him. But I want to talk more specifically about the defensive side of the game. Sometimes last year that routine play that wasn't made can be really deflating, and I don't think he's got to be great going to his left or his right and making the great play. It's more the routine play. Give me your thoughts about that.
100%. 100% is about being consistent. You know, ball hit to him, it's got to be an out. You know, as a major league pitcher, when you make your pitch and you get that ground ball, you know, 2 outs, you're walking towards the dugout. And, you know, I thought Gleyber did a hell of a job last year. Good throw right there, Gary. Really good throw right there. Good tag by GT too. Yeah, go back to Gleyber. You know, I thought last year after he came back from the injury, I thought he played well for us. You know, obviously he rehabbed it and put himself in a better condition, obviously, and you know he played well for us. I thought that the routine, his preparation before the game was excellent, and it translated to the games. You know, and that's what we're expecting him this year. You know, obviously he worked really hard in the off-season, came in great shape, and we're seeing some good results with the way he's moving, especially on the backfields. You know, the workload is really, really good, and you know, at the end of the day, it comes down for him to being excellent and making the routine plays.
Well, Carlos, Brian Cashman said you're a manager in waiting. You're obviously a play-by-play guy in waiting too, calling that Sanchez to Torres put out there perfectly. But let's talk about Sanchez for a second. Already a couple of home runs this spring. Worked really hard in the off season. You work so closely with him. What are the keys for Gary to be the player the Yankees believe he can be?
Well, I think it's a little bit of everything, you know. One thing I saw early this year in January was the way he was preparing and working on his defense, you know. In the past, he's been back home in the Dominican Republic, and he's just been a lot of the offensive side. This year, you know, the few times that I came over to the minor league complex, he was there, and he was working really hard with our catching coordinator and with our catching coach here. And, you know, that was really good to see. That was kind of like, damn. Gary's, you know, putting the work in right now in January from the defensive side. Again, offensively, we know we've seen it in the past what type of player he could be, and he's working on some things right now with the lower half, making sure he's getting ready on time, getting ready for the fastball. Yeah, the results are great right now, but you know the way he's handling the pitching staff, that you know the communication with our starters, with the bullpen guys, those are some of the things that Gary's working on, and so far he's been great.
1-2 pitch here from Nick Nelson to the number 9 hitter Greg Garcia. And missing there, evens count at 2-2. Carlos, how much of Sanchez's game depends on just that confidence? To know that when he came up, everybody was talking about him. He was mashing the ball. And that got away from him a little last year.
Yeah, I thought he put a lot of pressure on himself. Obviously, this is a guy that, you know, like everyone else wants to be at their best on a daily basis and wants to perform, and they're so driven by the numbers and the results that a lot of times they forget, you know, those numbers they don't show on the box score, you know. And I think that's important for Gary, for his confidence, you know, like he stays with the process, that he trusts the process and continue to work on the things he needs to work on. And with the hitting, whether it's with the hitting side, whether it's from catching coaches, I think it's important that he stays within himself and stay with the process.
Well, nice strikeout there by Nick Nelson. Carlos, as always, we thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
As we take it to the bottom half of the 5th inning. Yanks up 1-0. Yankees fans, suit up for a brand new season at MLBshop.com. Check out new 2021 gear and shop the largest selection of official caps, t-shirts, hoodies, and collectibles, plus much more. Gear up with the Yankees at MLBshop.com. Great to have you back with us as we head to the bottom half of the 5th inning. Yankees with a 1-0 lead. Number 9 hitter Miguel Andujar up against Tyler Alexander of the Tigers, working his 2nd inning of work. Andujar, first pitch swinging his first at bat, flew out to right field, was a little frustrated, Flash, so there, a nice take.
Yeah, well, we know Miguel is going to be an aggressive hitter. He always has been, and had a pitch maybe that was a little bit elevated. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with Andujar, Jack. I mean, this is a guy that we thought maybe would get a little more playing time last year. You know, the way Urshela has locked down third base, you wonder where his future is. Is it here with the Yankees? could it possibly be with another club?
Yeah, 2018 seems like a long time ago, and I say that in meaning that you haven't had a chance to see Miguel Andujar as he pops this one up to shallow center field. You haven't had a chance to see him be the player that he was. Jones makes the corral out there. Finished second in the Rookie of the Year voting that year. 27 home runs. He had 47 doubles. He had an OPS of over 850. And because of that injury, as you said, Flash, Urshela took the job and ran with it. And now when you look at a 26-man roster, that, for argument's sake, let's say it includes a 4-man bench, there's not a way really for Andujar to squeeze onto that, barring an injury, I don't believe.
Are they still going with this outfield, first base, third base possibility?
I still think they'd like him to have some flexibility and some versatility, because that opens up a couple of more doors for him. Not sure about first base, but I think they would like him to still get some reps in the outfield. We just spoke to Carlos Mendoza, kind of an interesting little tidbit in terms of technology. He was sending out information that had Andujar listed as an outfielder, and it went out a couple of days in a row, and Mendoza said that was just a glitch. Said, I need to change that. That they really do see him as an infielder, but in the hopes of getting more playing time, the more versatile he can make himself, the better off he'd be.
LeMahieu has a walk and a single today, made it as far as third base in the third inning. The Yankees left 2 runners stranded.
About Alexander's repertoire last year, guys. 4-seamer, sinker, changeup, slider, curveball. Threw all of them between 18 and 23%. Talk about really mixing it up. And what he likes is, he says the pitch tracking devices don't always characterize his pitches accurately. Sometimes the slider comes up as a curve, and there's DJ LeMahieu with, shockingly, another 2-hit game. Sometimes his cutter comes up as a slider, his 2-seamer comes up as a 4-seamer. So Alexander trying to be a mystery, but no mystery with this, Flash.
I mean, it's the same thing every day. We talked about it, the ability to hit with 2 strikes. You have to let the ball travel. He gets a couple of hits and gets the rest of the afternoon off. Go get some work maybe in the weight room and enjoy your evening. But just another day at the office for LeMahieu, 2 for 3, 2 for 2 with a walk. Excuse me.
Here's Aaron Judge, a line out and a fly out so far. Sent one within a couple steps of the wall out and right in his second at bat. And he absolutely mashes that one out to left center field, and it one-hops the wall. A ground rule double for Aaron Judge.
Well, you're starting to see the swings get on time a little bit better now. Obviously, hitters come into camp, you're a little bit behind the pitchers. We've seen a couple of swings from Judge a little bit late in getting beat, but not on that one. It's a bat head out, drives it to left center field, ground rule double.
He'll be replaced by a pinch runner as well. A productive day, 1 for 3, but that ground rule double and all 3 at bats hit the ball very hard. Michael Beltre at second base as Aaron Hicks steps in. Hicks has batted righty, lefty, righty with the change of Tigers pitchers here this afternoon.
Well, Hicks, such an important player for Aaron Boone, especially offensively in the lineup, being a switch hitter, 1 for 2 this afternoon. But a lot of talk in Yankee camp about how right-handed they are offensively. Aaron Hicks right in the middle of it, batting third, a switch hitter. It'll be very important for him to have a solid year.
Yeah, their ideal lineup, Aaron Boone has already talked about it, is to have Hicks in that 3-hole, because obviously he can swing around and bat from the left side. Looking at today's lineup, I think if you insert Urshela for Andujar and Frazier for Gardner, you're probably looking at your starting lineup for the season. The lineup that Mendoza and the Yankees have put out there today.
See Michael Beltre at second. Hoy Park is on third. He pinch running for DJ LeMahieu as the Yanks have runners at second and third, one out here in the bottom of the fifth. Looking to do some more damage and back up that solo shot that Gleyber Torres had last inning.
Bob talked about Hicks's numbers earlier. Just to reinforce it, he hit .225. That was 55th in the American League, but he had a .379 on base percentage, which was 7th in the American League.
Well struck ball, but the shortstop Castro comes up with it. Nice defensive play there, 2 away.
Bob, you were talking about Aaron Judge hitting the ball hard this afternoon. Had the one double to show for it. Hicks, the same thing. Solid line drive right at the shortstop. Obviously, you'd love to have the base hit and a couple of RBIs. But at this point in spring training, it's all about gaining the timing, pitch recognition, and Hicks right on time that at bat.
Giancarlo Stanton with his third at bat. He's walked and grounded to short. 2 on, 2 away here in the bottom of the fifth. And first pitch strike for Alexander. Missing away, evens the count at 1-1. Well, Jack, you mentioned this Stanton postseason, and the numbers that he put up were just astounding.
Yeah, 6 postseason home runs and just stack them up right here. Doesn't matter the pitch, doesn't matter the location. He's going to center field, he's going to right field, he's going to left field. And Flash talked about it earlier, just looked so much more comfortable during the postseason.
1-2 pitch, and he hammers that one out to center field. A nice defensive play there by Jones. Sounded like he actually got more of that ball than he actually did. Jones with a catch, and that'll do it for the Yankees here in the fifth. But as we take it to the top half of the sixth inning, Yanks up 1-0. A Sunday afternoon, catching the next spring training game on Yes as the Yankees host the Phillies at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, Florida. Ryan Ruocco, David Cone, and Meredith Barakovich will have the call Sunday at 1 right here on Yes. Yankees lead at 1-0 as we head to the top half of the sixth inning, and another pitcher in for them, Luis Garcia. Garcia spent 2020 with the Rangers, saw 11 games of action, 8 1/3 innings, 10 hits, 9 walks.
Throws a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer, Bob. Also throws a slider and a split. Signed a minor league deal with the Yankees. Looms as minor league depth for them. But as you said, he's got some major league experience. Phillies, Angels, and the Rangers.
Facing the Tigers' leadoff hitter, Robbie Grossman, who struck out and grounded to second base. And he's going to ground out to second for a second straight at bat, 1 away. That's Hoy Park at second base. Replaced DJ LeMahieu after LeMahieu's second hit of the afternoon back in the fifth. Bring up Jacoby Jones, who's flown to center and grounded to short. Jack, would you say in signing a minor league deal with the Yanks that he sees the Yankees as a place that there's going to be some opportunities somewhere to get a call up and maybe contribute?
I was going to ask Flash that question. I'd love to get inside the head of a pitcher like Garcia. He's 34 years old. He's had an 8-year career, 14 and 17 with an ERA over 4. Yankees are a pretty crowded roster right now, but he must have confidence that given an opportunity, he can succeed at this level, succeed for them. Last year was kind of a forgotten year for him with Texas. He didn't pitch well, but we've seen this before, guys. It's not going to be a 5-man rotation and a 12 or 13-man staff. You're going to run through pitchers this year. So I'm sure Garcia is seeing this as an opportunity for him. And when the minor league season does start, go down there, try and prove yourself, and be an available arm when and if they ask you to be one.
Gets a little chopper off the bat of Jones. And on to first, 2 away.
I used to do the reporter thing when I was at the Times, and I would go around to the guys. And I'm not just trying to say I was being meddlesome. I was doing my job, but we all did the math. And you all crunched the numbers, and you would go to the players who were kind of on the bubble and on the periphery. And I had a ton of respect for guys who would say, listen, I can't think about the numbers. Whereas it's just human nature to think about the numbers. If you're a Yankee player right now who has options, you know there's the potential they could send you down and you won't make the roster. But I thought it took a lot of mental fortitude to just say, I'm going to go out there and do my job, try and impress. I can't worry about the fact that I might be the 14th man in a 13-man pitching staff right now.
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges for young players is to realize that there are 29 other clubs out there that are watching you day in and day out. But for a veteran like Garcia, and you mentioned he signed a minor league deal, he wants to get in camp somewhere. He wants to throw the baseball, and he wants to show, first of all, the Yankees he can do it.
Castro lining one out to right. 4 out, number 3. So a couple ground ball outs for Garcia and a fly ball and a 1-2-3 top of the 6th. Look at the fans in the stands, about 2,600 of them at Steinbrenner Field. With baseball back. And welcome back once again to Yankees Spring Training, brought to you by Ford. But a good afternoon for the Yankees so far at George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. Gleyber Torres home run. They lead it 1-0 over the Tigers. Seen some very solid pitching so far from the Yankees. And they put together a couple hits there in their last at bat in the bottom half of the 5th. They left 2 aboard. There's Ersan Moreno. Spent 2019 in the minors. Didn't get a lot of activity though, like a lot of minor leaguers, down at their alternate site. Some wholesale changes for the Yankees. It'll be Mike Ford leading things off here. He took over for Luke Voit at first. You see the numbers on Ford last season in 29 games. Flash did not have the kind of season that he would like, and that he showed flashes of brilliance the season before in the power game, but he just didn't have that stroke last year.
Yeah, and he's a guy, again, we talk about how spring is different for every player. Comes into camp this year after a down year last year and needs to kind of reestablish himself. And he showed a couple of years ago the ability to drive the baseball, especially the second half. And I think more specifically the ability to hit off the bench and give the Yankees a good at bat. So looking to have a good spring here and kind of reestablish himself as somebody who should be on this roster.
Yeah, 12 home runs in 2019, dropped off to 2 last year. And Flash, I couldn't agree with you more. He had so many solid at bats in 2019, just a lot of plate discipline. A guy who went up there and swung at strikes. 350 on base percentage in 2019. It felt like every at bat he had was a quality at bat. And then in 2020, that version of Mike Ford wasn't there anymore.
You remember last year with the whole spring training and then summer camp, and can Luke Voit do it again, right? And he proved obviously that he could with those 22 home runs and playing every day.
Ford got one in on the hands a little bit. Fly ball left field, 1 away.
And unfortunately for Mike Ford, he took a little step back. So again, trying to reestablish himself, and you wonder where his opportunities are going to be this year.
Oswald Peraza has taken over at shortstop for Gleyber Torres.
Impressive young player Peraza is, Bob. I had the chance to talk to Kevin Reese, who's the Yankees senior director of player personnel. And yes, Jason Dominguez is atop the Yankee prospect mountain, the Martian. But Reese said he gets incredibly excited when he sees Peraza playing too, both on the offensive and the defensive side. Just seems to do everything right out there. Reese said that the major league coaches were watching Peraza take batting practice earlier this spring, and their body language was essentially saying, okay, hurry up, let's get this guy moving. He's that exciting. He can do a little bit of everything, Reese said.
Did they see him when they got him as a defense first guy and that the bat would come along, or did they feel like both were on equal footing?
You know, according to Kevin, Peraza has just had both sides of the ball. And it's interesting you say that, Bob, because he said a lot of what they do in developing these players is, okay, this guy's there defensively, but we need to bring the bat along. This guy can really hit, but to get to the next level, we need him to play both sides of the ball. He said Peraza has been a good hit, good field guy from the beginning.
It's going to be so vital for these players this season to have the minor league season and system back to get those regular reps, which they were robbed of, at least game quality reps last year. A swing and a miss for out number 2.
What was interesting about that alt site in talking to Kevin Reese as Trey Amberge comes to the plate. Clark Schmidt was quoted in an article saying he thought he threw about 50 innings. So I had said to Reese, Clark Schmidt said he threw about 50, and Reese, without hesitating, said 53 2/3. So they weren't just choosing up teams and throwing a ball around at the alt site. It was very well organized. Kevin Reese gave the Yankee staff and coaches a ton of credit. He said they treated that as seriously as they could. If you were Davy Garcia and you were pitching that day at the alt site, you got a scouting report on those 9 guys that you might have been in the dugout with the day before, but you got a full scouting report to go through. This is who you're going to face today. And in game situations, if they had a lefty batter coming up, they had 6 lefty relievers. Let's bring a different one in. Let's see if he can hit this lefty reliever. So I was very impressed with Kevin taking opening up the curtain a little bit and talking about the alt site.
Yeah, that's impressive to hear, because the worst thing as a player is playing in inter-squad scrimmages against your teammates, where the level of competition and, you know, intensity just isn't there. So it's nice to hear that they tried to ramp that up as much as possible. But I gotta believe these minor league players are chomping at the bit to get back into a regular season dynamic where you're actually playing against other organizations. You're traveling and going on road trips, and we know that the minor league season is going to be backed up about a month, which I think is a positive thing.
Well, Flesh, what's interesting too, something that he told me, when they were getting down to the final few roster spots, so to speak, for the alt site, the guys that they wanted to bring, and they were on the fence with certain guys. If you were player X and you went to college Y and you had a great setup at your college to work out, but then there was player D who maybe didn't have a great setup, they'd say to the college guy, we need you to stay there. You've got a great setup. You've got some assistant coaches who can throw to you. Stay there. But here's this other kid who maybe didn't have a great setup at home. We need to get him to the alt site. We need to have him there around the major league coaches.
2-2 pitch to Amberge, and he lifts one out to right center field. Right fielder calls him off right there, and that will do it for the Yanks in the bottom half of the 6th inning. A 1-2-3 inning as we go to the 7th. The Yanks are up 1-0. Yankee Spring Training on Yes is brought to you in part by FanDuel Sportsbook. There's more ways to win on FanDuel. And by Cadillac. Visit your tri-state Cadillac dealer and experience the ultimate in iconic luxury. 75 and sunny in Tampa. Meredith Morakovitz is enjoying that. We know that, our colleague who is there reporting. And in the meantime, it's Bob Lorenz, John Flaherty, Jack Curry in our Yes Network studio. It's a studio crew takeover. And I mentioned, guys, as we came on the air, this is kind of our spring training. Flash, do you feel like you're getting enough reps here?
Well,
seeing the ball well?
I feel like you and Jack are crowding the situation, but I've always been a team player, and I've always known my role, even in a spring training environment, so I'm fine with it.
I love the shot that they showed, Bob, and Flash is on the on-deck circle. Like the former Major League hitter is closest to the on-deck circle, as it should be. You and I should be far away from that on-deck circle.
There
it is.
He also looks like he's working, too. I'm always reminded how large my head is on shots like that.
What does David Cohen say? I wash. That's all I wash.
Tyler Lyons is in to pitch here in the top of the 7th for the Yankees. And he's facing Grayson Greiner, who's come in to catch for Wilson Ramos.
Lyons pitched 1 game for the Yankees last year. He pitched 11 games for them the year before. Yankees have 3 lefties in their bullpen already, in Chapman, Britton, and Wilson. Lyons would seem to be one of those guys on the outside looking in right now, but again, we've talked so much about how you're going to need a lot of arms this year.
First 3 pitches resulting in balls here to Greiner, so a 3-0 count. Yanks up 1-0 on the Gleyber Torres solo home run. And peppers the bottom of the zone for strike 1. Hot shot left field, base hit. Hamburgie will get over there to get it and keep Greiner to a leadoff single here in the top of the 7th.
Bob, we had Carlos Mendoza on earlier, and that was the inning that Nick Nelson pitched. We didn't get a chance to talk much about Nelson, but he had another solid inning, including getting another strikeout on his changeup. And Aaron Boone has really talked about how that changeup can be a weapon for Nelson. And I almost see Nelson as a Chad Green light for the Yankees this year. He's got that high octane 96, 97 mile per hour fastball. If he can control that and then have that changeup as his swing and miss, his out pitch, Nelson can be a real big part of what the Yankees are trying to do this year.
You know, Jack, young pitching when they get to the big league level in a awkward situation last year, right, with no fans, and it was a different field. But you saw Nick Nelson kind of graduate like, I belong here. You could tell by his body language. Now he comes into camp, and you mentioned that changeup and fighting for a job on this team. It looks like he's not shying away from the competition. And love this trip to the mound right here from Chirinos, a veteran catcher signed to a minor league deal. Gives the Yankees some insurance behind the plate, trying to get Lyons back on track behind an account 2-0.
Spencer Torkelson got the start at third base today. Again, we talked about him. He was their top draft pick in 2020, and they're getting him his 3rd at bat of the afternoon. He struck out looking and grounded to 3rd.
Bob, undrafted out of high school. He goes to Arizona State and hits 25 home runs, breaks Barry Bonds' freshman record. Hits 23 as a sophomore. Junior season was short-circuited because of COVID. And then all those teams that wish they had drafted him out of high school watched the Tigers pick him first.
A ground ball to 3rd, 2 away. The 1 away, excuse me. By the way, how about the number of home runs he hit his freshman year? 25, you mentioned, Jack. That obliterated Bond's record of 11 for freshmen. Unbelievable.
Scouts rate players on a 20 to 80 scale. 80 being all-star elite. He has a rating of 80 for his power, which basically means that he's expected to hit 40 or more homers. That's what scouts think and say when they watch Torkelson. And he's not just a power hitter. He's a good hitter. He's got some plate discipline. Big part of what the Tigers are hoping to do in the future.
You know, I think about the Tigers in the old days playing in the old Tiger Stadium, Jack, and you remember that stadium, how the ball just used to fly there. I mean, guys like Rob Deere and Cecil Fielder and Mickey Tettleton and Kirk Gibson just used to put on power displays there, and you would just imagine that kid playing in a stadium like that. But you know, Comerica not a bad place to hit as well. So we'll see what his future is going to look like.
This is Aderlin Rodriguez. Swing and a miss. Came in to replace Harold Castro at first base.
You know, guys, getting ready for this matchup, Yankees-Tigers, which we're going to see a lot of in spring training. It kind of brought me back a little bit. You know, we lost some greats in the game over the offseason, obviously with COVID and everything that happened. Al Kaline, legend with the Detroit Tigers, Hall of Famer. Whitey Ford with the Yankees, and just a tough winter losing some absolute legends.
Yankees will wear a 16 patch for Whitey Ford on their uniform this season. And a nice pitch there, strike 3, as Rodriguez goes down looking. Well, next Thursday on Yes, the red-hot Brooklyn Nets return from the All-Star break for a marquee matchup with the Boston Celtics at Barclays Center. Live coverage starting at 7 o'clock with a pregame right here on Yes. And then opening tip, have Ian Eagle and Sarah Kustok on the call. It's appointment TV with the way the Nets are playing this season.
Bob, going back to the Tigers real quickly. So Flash, Pete Rose told me the following. Sparky Anderson taught him this in terms of managing players. Every player has to fit into one of these categories. You have to kick him in the behind, you have to pat him on the behind, or you have to leave him alone. Which classification did you fit into?
The first 2 out of 3. Sparky did not leave me alone. He patted me on the back. He got on me quite a bit as well. And you know, I think back to those Tigers days very fondly, because not only Sparky Anderson, but Kirk Gibson, Alan Trammell, Cecil Fielder, Mickey Tettleton, those guys taught me how to be a pro. There was a specific way that you had to go about your business as a Detroit Tiger back in the day, and Sparky was the leader of that. But no, he didn't leave me alone. He was on me every day, Jack, one way or the other.
What size cleat did he have that kept kicking you?
It felt a lot bigger than I'm sure that it was. But, you know, Sparky had very specific rules that the scoreboard is going to tell you how to play the game. And by that, I mean, if you're down by 3 and a closer comes in, you have to take a strike. You have to give him the opportunity to get behind in the count, walk you, give us a chance for a rally. The way you called the game behind the plate, the scoreboard would dictate that, whether you're aggressive or whether you're defensive. So I learned a lot those 2.5 years with the Tigers.
Line gets a committed swing there from Kristen Stewart to make the count 1-2. Stewart taking over in left field for Akil Baddoo this afternoon.
And that's a reason I bring up Mr. Al Kaline, who passed away, because he was such a big part of the Tiger organization, would be around the team every day and would carry himself like as such a gentleman as he was, and just kind of give you some of his wisdom and the right ways to go about your business. So he will be forever missed.
That's one of the reasons you're such a gentleman, right?
I don't know about that, Bob, but you know, I was lucky enough a couple of years ago. I'm sitting in a booth with Kirk Gibson, Al Kaline, and myself, just talking a little ball. I mean,
yeah,
that was pretty special. I just sat back, didn't say a word, and listened for about an hour during a rain delay to those 2 Tiger legends going back and forth. What a treat that was.
You know, I can't go 9 innings without a musical reference. So based on what Flash just said, Chuck D of Public Enemy has a song that he recently did, and it's called "It's So Hard to See My Baseball Cards Move On." And it's about all of the players who have passed away recently.
Yeah.
Al Kaline is in that song.
Let's take a look back at Flash. 0 for 1 on the afternoon, but tees off here to left field. That must have felt good.
Okay, a couple of things you needed to look at. The 356 batting average in the graphic, that never happened. And against that guy, Pat Henkin. Ooh, well, only knew what was ahead of me.
We had the wrong music playing there, though. We're supposed to be playing the Chuck D song. Awesome shot there, Flash. I love the young Flash.
The Lions wanted that one. Count goes full.
Well, unfortunately, Chuck D had a lot to talk about, right? We've lost a lot of legends.
There were 20 players mentioned in that song. Wow. Because he included Charlie Pride, check it out. It's a really good tune.
Good pitch there by Lyons to get out of the inning and leave a man stranded on second base. So we're at the 7th inning stretch right now, and the Yankees lead it 1-0. We'll stick around and listen to God Bless America.
For the playing of God Bless America.
Great to have you back on Yes. Yankees lead the Tigers 1-0 as we head to the bottom of the 7th. Hey, Yankees fans, become a Yankees insider today. Receive the latest video highlights, up-to-date news, features, ticket specials, and more. All delivered free to your inbox, wherever you are. Sign up today at Yankees.com/subscribe. And if you already have a Yankees.com account, log in to manage your preferences now. Don't miss a moment. Visit Yankees.com/subscribe today. Again, bottom of the 7th with a 1-0 Yankees lead. The new pitcher Foley, Jason Foley for the Tigers. That's his numbers from 2019. He, of course, missed out on last season, was not at their alt site. And he is facing Robinson Chirinos, who took over for Gary Sanchez.
Chirinos was impressive, Bob, in his first Zoom interview with reporters. Sanchez is the starter, Higashioka is the backup, Chirinos is insurance. We can all say that, but when Chirinos was asked about his status, he said, I'm not looking at it that way. I came here to try and win a job. I came here to try and help the Yankees win, and I know there are two very good players who are here and who were here last year, but as a player, I can't think that way. I thought that was a very professional, experienced answer.
Swing and a miss on the 2-1, evens account at 2-2.
Well, when you're a guy like Chirinos at this point in his career, I mean, the Yankees know exactly what they have in him, right? Really good defender, works the pitching staff, does a great job offensively. Whatever you get will be a bonus. And from his standpoint, he comes in here, Jack, with the confidence. I know who I am. I know what I've done. If there's room on this team, I'll be able to help them. He's got nothing to prove, and you know, it might work out here, might work out someplace else. But I think when you get to the point where he is in his career, there's a confidence. This is who I am, and this is what I can do to help you win.
And a nice leadoff walk there here to start the bottom of the 7th. Armando Alvarez took over at third base for Miguel Andujar. Split time between Double and Triple A in 2019. Some impressive power, 11 homers, 76 runs batted in.
Bob, you detailed Foley's numbers before. He's actually a Long Island native, and he pitched his college ball at Sacred Heart in Fairfield.
This little inside out hit for Alvarez right there to set up runners at first and second. Well, Yankee Spring Training on Yes is brought to you in part by your local Ford stores. Ford is proud to be the official SUV of the New York Yankees. For current offers, visit buyfordnow.com. Back to the top of the Yankees order now, and it's Hoy Park taking over at second base for DJ LeMahieu. Chirinos is at second, and Alvarez is at first. The Yanks have something going here in the bottom of the 7th with a 1-0 lead.
Now, Jack, the reporter in you just gave us that great nugget that Foley went to Sacred Heart. Do you have Bobby Valentine's cell phone in your phone?
I do.
To get a little, you just got to get a little scanner report on this guy.
I can do that.
Bobby V, well, he's the athletic director.
You want
there,
me
right?
to endeavor to do that? Yes, I can do that. He is the athletic director there, former Met manager.
But let me ask you this. You said Jack reporting, because earlier he said when I did reporting things. Or reporter things for the Times. You still do reporter things.
I just meant back in spring training, back when we had clubhouse access, all of that.
Luke Voigt had foot stuff. You do reporter things. Park fouling that one off, 1-2.
You know, when the Yankees are bringing in some of these players who obviously some of them were not at the alt site last year. It was interesting, Kevin Reese, going back again to him, the Yankees senior director of player personnel, talked about the rigid schedules that these players have. And he said, and I think you'll get a kick out of this, Flash, he said, it's pretty much impossible to not work hard because they give these guys schedules. Your day starts at 8 o'clock and we want you here at 8 o'clock for stretch, and then you're going to do this for 2 hours, and then you're going to do that, and then obviously with COVID restrictions that group of guys is going to leave. But he said you can stand out and be a hard worker. There will be guys who come in for extra hitting or do extra workouts, but it's difficult to be a slacker, I guess is what he was telling me.
You appreciate the schedule, obviously, that they have to be on, but you know, the one downside of it, I would think, from a competitive standpoint, when you're a player and a minor leaguer and you're trying to get better, the games tell you where your development has gotten to. And you know, without those regular season games and going through the slumps when you know that it counts and the pressure is mounting, that's when you really figure out the mental side of the game and the toughness to fight through some tough times in a minor league season and still be productive.
Park trying to fight through that at bat. He stayed alive on 3-2 with a foul ball. Flies this one to center field. Chirinos will tag from second, so the runner advances one away.
Flash, you bring up a great point. A little bit of a segue as we take a look at this swing one more time. Remind you of anybody? Maybe a little Shohei Ohtani in there. But I asked Kevin Reese about Jason Dominguez because, of course, that would be a reporter thing. He better ask about the #1 prospect as Beltre steps to the plate. And he just talked about how physical Dominguez is. This powerful body. And he said when he first saw him hit, he thought, well, he can't be as fast as everybody says he is, not with that body. And then he watched him run, and he said he's just as fast. We've heard the stories about the exit velocity, 115 exit velocity in batting practice. And Kevin said, listen, we want to slow down the hype train. We want to let him drive his own hype train. But my point, Flash, is he hasn't played in any games yet. And that's what you need. You need to get the reps. You need to see the spin on a slider. You need to lay off an outside pitch after they just busted you inside. You need to face people who are trying to get you out.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think about all the scanner report, and, you know, every player kind of goes through when you get drafted. You show up with your draft class and you kind of try to size yourself up against the guys who you were drafted with. And I remember so many talented players, and I'm like, man, this guy, he hits the ball a mile, he flies, like he'll be in the big leagues next year. And then all of a sudden you get into a minor league season and things aren't going well and the mental toughness just isn't there. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but that's part of developing in the minor leagues and being able to fight through tough times and get yourself back on track. That'll be the biggest test for him.
He's 18 years old, and one anecdote that Kevin told me that stood out is he went over the Dominican Republic for instructional league over there. And after starting out with the Yankees and naturally being a little more reserved, you're trying to figure your situation out as Beltre goes down swinging. Kevin said that Dominguez was sort of taking control in some workouts, and it was Dominguez who was talking with some of the other players in the Dominican with the Yankees and trying to tell them, well, this is the way we do this drill. And after being a little more reserved, Reese said it was really encouraging to see that leadership side of him come out.
Two away here in the bottom of the 7th. And it's Ryan Lamar. Runners at first and third for the Yanks as they threaten to put more on the board. That one run coming in the 5th inning on a solo home run from Gleyber Torres.
So Flash, on that graphic, we just had Davy Garcia. He pitched yesterday, obviously vying for a spot in the rotation. Gave up a couple of home runs. He also had a bunch of swings and misses. If you caught him yesterday, what would be your message to him about what he should take away from that outing?
Great job. The solo home runs don't bother you at all. You were pounding the strike zone. Your stuff looked really good. And for a first outing, it was a very, very positive outing. Even for a young kid who's trying to make a team, I think there was a lot to like about it.
Chopper to short, and that'll wrap things up here in the bottom of the 7th. The Yanks strand a pair, but they still lead it 1-0 as we head to the top of the 8th in Tampa. A Sunday afternoon before the next Yankees game, tune in to Yes Early for the latest uplifting episode of Joy to the World featuring host Ian Joy. That's Sunday at 12:30 right here on Yes. Have it. You're going to hear that at least once on the show from our man Ian. And NYCFC matches he will be calling. Going to have new kits this season, guys. That familiar powder blue, though, and the interlocking NYC, so familiar to NYCFC fans. As we head to the top half of the 8th inning in a 1-0 Yankees lead. Luis Medina is now in the game for the Yankees. Those are his numbers from a couple seasons ago in the minors. He spent 2020 at the alt site.
Get ready to see some impressive stuff. Throws a fastball in the upper 90s. He's got a really good curveball. He has control of his changeup. You see where he is ranked in terms of Yankee prospects. What Medina needs to do, he needs to control those pitches. In his career in the minor leagues, he's averaged about 7 walks per 9 innings. So obviously that's not going to work to get you to the next level. But Yankees are very impressed with the fact that he went to the Puerto Rican winter leagues. There's that lack of control that we talked about. How about these numbers, Flash, from the Puerto Rican Winter League? 16 2/3 innings, 32 strikeouts, 6 walks, 0.54 earned run average. He was the pitcher of the year.
6 walks is what jumps out at you.
Now the Yankees did study what the competition was over there in Puerto Rico. 4 of the top 10 hitters in that league did have some major league experience, and almost on cue, unfortunately for Medina, there is a walk. But if he can harness the pitches, guys, you're talking about a 21-year-old kid with an electric arm. At the alt site last year, he hit 102 with his fastball.
Hit 98 on that fastball that missed, so the leadoff walk to Jacob Robson puts a runner on first with Cody Clemens the batter now. And missing inside again at 97.
Yeah, I'm watching Torinos behind the plate, and you see the resume on Clemens, son of Roger Clemens, the Rocket, out of the University of Texas, just like his old man. And watch Torinos. He's going to set up right down the middle of the plate, trying to get Medina back in the strike zone.
So he played in the Caribbean World Series last year. Well, last offseason, not very long ago. He's from the Dominican, but since he was playing in Puerto Rico, he pitched against the Dominican, so had to play against his countrymen. And Flash, you talk about Chirinos catching him here. He had one game where Yadi Molina caught him. So soak up as much wisdom as you can during that outing.
Absolutely.
Quick move to first. Nice stop by Ford. You know, Flash, for these young pitchers, these guys that have these big arms, you hear it a lot. There was a couple people in the Tigers organization they wrote about, you and the Yankees too. It's just once the adrenaline gets flowing, all those things about keeping your body straight towards the plate, channeling everything right towards the catcher's mitt, does some of that kind of get away from you?
Absolutely. I mean, you come into a situation, it's the 8th inning of this game. Obviously, it's late, but it's an opportunity to show what you can do. Chirinos had no chance on that. A breaking ball down. A good throw just to make it somewhat close. But, you know, Bob, part of working with young pitchers are to get them to slow down and calm down in big situations. Again, nice pick by Chirinos. Accurate throw, just no chance.
I think of Dellin Betances, guys. Obviously a taller pitcher than Medina, but struggled in the minor leagues with his control. And I remember asking him about that when he was with the Yankees, and he said it just came to a point where he had to remind himself about that focus. It had to be a constant reminder, so then that the focus was universal. He didn't have to remind himself anymore because he was out there realizing every pitch was so vital, every pitch was so important. Have your checklist, do all those things you need to do as a pitcher to get yourself ready to throw the pitch, but then execute it with some efficiency.
You know, it almost looked like Chirinos there when they called time, because Medina had taken so long. He actually liked that, the fact that he was maybe taking that extra breath to settle down. And maybe it keeps Clemens off balance in this at bat. We'll see. Robson's on second. Nobody out here in the top of the 8th. 3-1 pitch misses, so 2 walks in the inning and runners at first and second. Eric Haas will pinch hit for Robbie Grossman.
Medina still yet to pitch above A ball because obviously last year there was not a minor league season. He did finish 19 strong. His last 28 innings, only 5 earned runs and 39 strikeouts. And again, the strikeouts are not the problem. It's limiting the walks. And we're seeing a microcosm of who he's been. The pitches are electric and there's a lot of speed, but he struggles to find the zone, or is struggling today.
Yeah, and it's such a fine line for Chirinos behind the plate, right? You're trying to get him in the zone, and you're thinking maybe if you could slow down his mechanics with a breaking ball and drop that in for a strike, that might be the pitch to get him back on track. See what he goes with here. 0-1.
Crisp at 95, lower end of the zone, so a couple eye levels there for Haas on 2 fastballs as Medina gets ahead 0-2.
Well, to Jack's point, once he starts throwing the ball over the plate, he opens up your eyes, but when he's yanking everything down and in and he's missing by a ton, you figure there's a long way to go.
Haas hits that one foul, stays alive at 0-2.
One of the best parts of any catcher's job is working with young pitchers, and when you can be in this competition during a game and you're going through your pitch sequence and you're waiting for that one pitch where you see the light bulb go on, where he gets it and he gains confidence, and then he just starts moving in the right direction. Takes a lot of reps.
0-2 to Haas. Missing away. Chirinos trying to block that one, but the runners will advance second and third.
Medina will turn 22 in May. So obviously still a very young pitcher. There's the number we talked about earlier. 7.1 walks per 9 innings in his career.
A breaking ball for a put-away pitch there. Well done. One away with runners at second and third.
Well, when you have the velocity and you can throw it over the plate, you get hitters have to respect that. And they will commit a little bit early. The breaking ball down. A nice block by Chirinos for the first out.
82 miles per hour on the breaking ball. You can tick it up to 98, 99. That kind of separation will work for you. Danny Woodrow is in the game now, taking over in center field for Jacoby Jones. To the right side. They'll get the second out, but a run will score and tie the game at 1. Two away here, top of the 8th, and a runner on third. And the batter is Daniel Pinheiro. Fastball in for a strike ahead 0-1.
The Caribbean World Series obviously takes place before pitchers and catchers arrive in Florida and Arizona. So Kevin Reese pointed out that Medina was almost a little mini celebrity in Tampa because they were organizing their schedules to make sure they would be able to see him pitch in those games. Everybody wanted to get eyeballs on him. They were missing baseball at that point.
Well, Flash, that pitch seemed like a perfect example of pitch away down in the dirt and his body falling that way as well.
Yeah, and it's just he gets a little bit violent at the end of his delivery, and you can see him yanking everything away from the righty into the lefty. And Bob, this is just, you know, young pitchers, unfortunately, sometimes when they miss by a lot. So there's a lot of development still to be had here. But as Jack pointed out, you cannot question the arm strength and the quality of the stuff.
He's at 18 pitches this inning. Good time to point out that managers do have the discretion during this spring training of ending an inning at 20 pitches if they want for one pitcher.
Well, he's at 19 now, and it's 3-1.
I'm sure each pitcher is different, and I know each manager is different, but I also think instead of studying the 20, I think you want to give a kid a chance to get out of the jam.
3-1 pitch to Pinheiro. Fastball low, so his third walk of the inning. Well, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the New York Yankees and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Yankees. The inning will continue with runners at first and third for the Tigers. And Grayson Griner getting his second at bat of the afternoon. Singled in his first at bat. Want a little change right there, Flash?
Change up.
Wow.
Where's that been?
Throw that one again.
Saw Chirinos before that pitch too, Flash. Just kind of put his two hands out, lower his palms toward the ground, basically telling Medina, just calm down, just take it easy. You're one pitch away. Andy Pettit used to always say that. I'm one pitch away from getting out of this.
1-1 pitch. Scorches a fastball in there for strike two. Now as a hitter, is he in your head a little bit? Through a good changeup, through a good fastball.
Well, absolutely. He's looking around saying he's throwing the ball all over the place to everybody else. He drops a nasty changeup, now a good fastball. But again, development of a young pitcher ahead in the count 1-2. Looking for a strikeout here. You don't have to make this pitch nastier than what you've done in this at bat.
Looked like Chirinos wanted that up and in a little bit. He was blowing away.
And again, that's the young pitcher, right? You're missing by a full plate. You're missing down instead of up, and it just goes to, you know, a little bit more development, some more innings, some more experience. It'll come around. Chirinos wants it up and in. That's down and away. You can see Chirinos saying he's yanking it down and away. He's trying to get him back there, trying every trick in the book behind the plate.
1-2 pitch coming up for Medina. Tries to go with a breaking ball and just can't get it to spin, so the count goes full on Griner. Runner advances to second base. That's Pinheiro. So second and third, 2 outs, and Medina looking for an out pitch. Can't get it there, and the count goes full. Tigers looking to cash in a couple runs, sitting out there at second and third. Payoff pitch coming up to Griner. Fastball fouls it away, stays alive. Three walks in the inning for Medina, trying to grind through this one and limit the Tigers to a run. Getting out here. And misses with a fastball up and in, so his fourth walk of the inning will load the bases. And Carlos Mendoza going out to the bullpen. We'll have a new pitcher after this. And welcome back to Yankees spring training, brought to you by Ford. Slated for a 9-inning game this afternoon at George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. Yankees in a jam here with a pitching change. Addison Russ relieving Luis Medina, who walked 4, allowed a run, so bases loaded, 2 away as Russ goes to work. The batter is Brady Policelli, who took over at third for Torkelson. And first pitch, breaking ball in for a strike.
Russ was acquired from the Phillies when the Yankees traded David Hale. Bob, he's got really good career numbers in the minor leagues. ERA of around 2.5, but impressively, he's struck out 200 batters in 152 and 2/3 innings. So he's got the ability to get swings and misses.
Good spot for him to show what he's got. Bases loaded and 2 outs in a tie ball game. Taking the speed off 2 pitches so far, and quickly ahead 0-2.
Good trust in a changeup. Right-handed pitcher to a right-handed hitter. You don't see that very often to get ahead in the count. 0-2.
Another change right there, and Policelli just gets a piece of it to stay alive.
And a reason you don't see a lot of right-handed pitchers throw a changeup to a right-handed hitter. If you make a mistake, it drifts inside, drifts down and in. Could be a good pitch to hit. You can keep it away and keep it down. It's a quality pitch.
Tries to whistle a fastball over the outside corner and misses 1-2. trying to work out of a bases-loaded jam here in the top of the 8th. And misses with a breaking ball away, so that evens the count at 2-2. Foul right off the mask of Chirinos there on a changeup. Keeps it count at 2-2. See the strikeout ability for Addison Russ. He can help the Yankees here in a big way with an out pitch. 2-2 to Policelli. And does exactly that with a changeup. So Addison Russ comes in and gets the job done, keeps the game tied, and leaves the bases loaded.
Welcome back to George M. Steinbrenner Field. I'm Meredith Marakovitz. Earlier today, I had the opportunity to catch up with Brian Cashman on a variety of topics, including how relieved he is that manager Aaron Boone is on the mend.
Yeah, no, it's a relief because first and foremost, health comes first, and when you hear about a pacemaker and you know about his history, you worry first and foremost. But he put us all at ease immediately. Educated us on the process, and one of his strengths and one of the reasons why he's here is because of that type of ability to put others at ease. I mean, this is a highly stressful circumstance for him, in theory, just like the job that he does is a highly stressful job, and yet he has these qualities to put everybody at ease, and he did that. And so it's great that he got the procedure done. He feels so much better, and we got a better version of Aaron Boone coming back to join us.
Carlos Mendoza has been filling in his absence. How much of an asset has he been to the organization over the last few years?
We've been really lucky to have somebody to rely on like Carlos Mendoza for quite some time, and unfortunately I'm sure we're going to lose access to that benefit eventually because he'll take the next step as a manager of a Major League Baseball team, and he's already been interviewed on a few occasions, and we were bracing ourselves in the event we lost him, but thankfully we still selfishly have him in our fold as our bench coach, and he, our players trust him, our manager trusts him, and for good reason. He's an experienced baseball person. No one works harder. He's detail oriented. He's exceptional at what he does for us, and so very excited that he's still with us. And and when Aaron Boone was missing from action here, taking care of a medical situation for a short period of time, I knew we were protected because Carlos Mendoza was running the show, and so we wouldn't skip a beat, so to speak. So,
Brian, you made quite a few pitching moves this offseason. When you look at the rotation behind Cole, how do you see as though that's shaping up so far?
I mean, it's early, but so far so good. I mean, ultimately, we're so early in the process, but they're getting their work in. All of our pitchers are. They're getting, in terms of the newbies, like a Corey Kluber and a Jamison Taillon, they're getting, to know their teammates, to know our facility, know their coaching staff, while obviously stretching out and now competing, in competition here. And so, couldn't ask for, a better introduction, in a, non-winning / losing environment. They're pros. They're going about their business and getting their work done, and so far everything looks, as advertised, and let's hope it stays that way. And ultimately, they don't need to prove to us anything right now either way. So whether somebody gets a bad outing or a good outing, it gets chalked up to, is your work getting done? Are you healthy? And it's about shooting for a successful launch come April and beyond. But we're excited by everything we're seeing so far from everybody in camp.
Aaron Boone really complimented the way Gleyber Torres came into spring training. What have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, I mean, I get all the good feedback. You know, it seems like not just Gleyber, but everybody here in camp has showed up in great shape, and that's you know the most important first step in the process. You don't want to spend your time in a spring training camp getting somebody in shape first and foremost. You know, you want them to start hitting the ground running and getting their work in and fine-tuning their skills set. And Gleyber Torres looks fantastic. He's in great shape. He's hungry to have a great season. You know, he obviously struggled in the period of time for the shortened 60-game season, but finally he was back online, and he saw we all know what he's capable of. You saw it in the postseason and how well he played, and so we're looking forward to having that version of Gleyber Torres deployed here from April and beyond. And as just like anybody else, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
And guys, I know you've already touched on it, but Gleyber Torres was not happy with his production in 2020. He usually takes a bit more time off in the offseason, but because of that very fact, he started training a little bit earlier than he normally does, just wanting to get back in shape, wanting to feel like himself, not only at shortstop, but at the plate as well. He spent a lot of the time here in Tampa working with Carlos Mendoza. He said he took a tremendous amount of grounders, just trying to make those routine plays. One thing he noted is that he didn't want pitchers to be concerned when the ball is hit to him. He wants them to know that he is reliable at shortstop. He can make the routine plays, and hopefully, occasionally, he'll make some spectacular plays there as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Thanks, Meredith. You saw the leadoff hitter Austin Wells, the Yankees' top draft pick last year, lead off with a walk. This is Oswald Peraza. And Andrew Moore deals one down in the dirt. Wells breaks for second, and he's in.
Well, a good block on the fastball just to try to keep it in the area, but Wells, a heads-up base running play, getting himself into scoring position in a 1-1 game.
Yankees drafted Wells in 2018 in the 35th round out of high school. He didn't sign. He went to Arizona. A couple years later, he was draft eligible as a sophomore, and they made him their top pick, signed him for $2.5 million. And in talking to Kevin Reese about Wells, he said in terms of keeping in touch with the organization last year, that Wells showed an unbelievable maturity, sending videos, getting feedback, and that went into the decision that they made to have him at Major League Camp. They wanted to get a look at their top draft pick.
They like the bat, right?
Love the bat. I mean, the Yankees, we know how right-handed their lineup is. You see Wells and the ability to offer power from the left side. How about this, Flash, in terms of being a modern player? More walks than strikeouts in college. So a guy who can hit for some power, but yet also walks more than he strikes out. That's a prescription for a lot of success in this league.
Peraza with an RBI opportunity here in the bottom of the 8th. Wells on second, but a swing and a miss for out number 2. You know, Jack, to your point, you're always looking for that left-handed bat to play at Yankee Stadium. And as you said, they have a dearth of left-handers now, but you know, you look down the line at a guy like Wells who could, I think about the conversations you've had about Mike Ford with his college coach, Scott Bradley, and how he really honed his eye in college and always had that. So does he have the power to take advantage of a Yankee Stadium? Yes, but he also has the ability to get on base and draw walks.
Right, more than just a power hitter. And a guy who takes a lot of pride in the defensive side of his game as well. Now, what the future holds for him in terms of getting to the major league level and being a catcher, being a hitter, how does he fit in? His hitting is going to get him there, and everything else will follow after that.
Trey Amberge up with 2 outs and a runner at second, and swings at a breaking ball outside, evens the count at 1-1. Amberge flew out to right field in his first at bat.
I don't know if you guys remember when Wells got drafted and everything was done via Zoom. I thought it was terrific that he had family members with him, and they were all dressed as if they were going to a black tie wedding. I mean, this was an event, and they treated it the way it should be treated. I thought that was terrific.
Breaking ball misses, 2-1. Was he in black tie?
I'm stretching it with black tie. They were dressed very elegantly.
Yes, for the occasion.
Yes.
Got it. Two on pitch with 2 away. Fastball. And evens the count at 2-2. Yanks trying to cash in here and retake the lead. Tigers got 1 in the top half of the 8th inning to create this deadlock, and now Austin Wells is on second, hoping to touch home plate. Hamburger fouling that one away to stay alive.
You know, Meredith talked about Gleyber Torres and what he's done this spring, and we have talked about it as well. One player we haven't mentioned today, and he wasn't in the lineup, but who merits mentioning is Gio Urshela, coming back from the elbow surgery, played yesterday, fought everything, felt great, looked good out there. Carlos Mendoza talked about just wanting to know that he can throw from all angles. If you watch Urshela play third base and how acrobatic he can be, he throws from a lot of different angles, and that's one of the things the Yankees are keeping an eye on.
After a leadoff walk, Andrew Moore gets the job done, keeps a man left on second base, so we'll take it to the 9th, all tied at 1. And welcome back to Yankee Spring Training, brought to you by Ford. Yankees in their 6th game of the spring with a 3-2 record. They're all tied at 1 right now with the Tigers as we head to the top half of the 9th inning. Gleyber Torres solo homer made it 1-0 Yanks in the 5th. Tigers tied it up on the top of the 8th. Now Yankees trying to keep it right where it is, and that falls on the shoulders of the right arm of Luis Gil. He was at the alternate site for the Yankees last year.
Acquired from the Twins for Jake Cave in 2018. There's their resume right there, Bob. Number 4 ranked Yankee prospect by Baseball America. Another pitcher with a big arm who needs to figure out a way to harness it. In his minor league career, he's averaged 11.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Great. He's also averaged 5.5 walks per 9 innings. Not so great. You're going to see an upper 90s fastball, but the pitch to keep an eye on is the slider. The Yankees worked a lot with him on that pitch, including at the alternate site, and Kevin Reese said that that's the pitch they want to see in game action. They want to see how Gil has improved in getting that breaking pitch, getting some swings and misses, getting some feeble swings on that pitch.
Facing Aderlin Rodriguez. And Flash, is it sort of the same thing? Jack made the comparison a bit when Medina was pitching to Dellin Betances. Now, he is taller than both of these pitchers, but is it the same thing when a guy is 6'2", 6'3", just getting all those body parts to work together and get that consistent motion?
Yeah, just like a hitter, it's the same thing for a pitcher. Everything has to be on time. The timing of the delivery, staying in a little bit with your left side. And when you watch Gil right here, it's pretty smooth mechanically, and you see how the ball jumps out of his hand. So again, it's just repetition, repeating the mechanics. You hear that all the time, a repeatable delivery. Eventually, he'll find that. When he does, he's going to move quick.
Well, back in the 8th, Medina got hurt with a leadoff walk. He ended up walking 3 other batters in the inning. Gil trying to avoid that. Down 3-1, but gets a ground ball off the bat of Rodriguez to short and 1 away. Is he channeling Luke Voigt with the shirt there?
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah. So defying the old pitchers should wear sleeves, keep that arm warm. No, not for him. This is Kristen Stewart, first pitch swinging, had the shift on, and out number 2. Park with the catch.
The Yankees are really impressed with Heel during the alt-site work that he put in. According to Kevin Reese, Sam Breen, who's the Yankees director of pitching, thought that Heel made as much progress as any pitcher the Yankees had there, really taking advantage of his time there. And obviously the slider, which we haven't really seen yet, was the pitch that they worked on the most.
Jacob Robson back in the 8th scored the only run pushed across by the Tigers in this game.
Just as I called for it, Bob, we saw one, and it wasn't the one he wanted it to be.
No.
When a slider doesn't look like a slider, that's usually not good. I like it though. 2 quick outs. You try to work some extra pitches in there. There you go.
The slider needs to slide, not slip. Is that fair?
Yeah, he's just a little bit behind it. You could see he doesn't get his hand out in front and kind of finish out in front. He'll get a feel for that. Just like he has a good feel for his fastball, the way he finishes with it out front.
And gets that one across the plate. And a quick 1-2-3 inning for Luis Heel. Well done for the young Yankees right-hander. We'll take it to the bottom half of the 9th inning as the Yankees look to get a win over the Tigers. And we're back with today's Cadillac Player of the Game. Flash, it's Domingo Germán.
Well, Domingo Germán, the first time he has stepped on a spring training mound in a competitive environment, and he was outstanding today. 4 strikeouts on the afternoon, was pounding the strike zone with all of his pitches. The changeup was really the pitch that stood out. Great arm action, really good action down and away. Domingo Germán, the first step back was a very positive one.
Cadillac Player of the Game, 4 strikeouts, 2 innings of work, allowed just a ground rule double, and that was it. So bottom of the 9th now, game tied at 1. Drew Carlton is the latest reliever out for the Tigers, facing Robinson Chirinos. Got his first at bat in the 7th, and it's an impressive walk. This one he strokes out to center field. Shallow center, actually the second baseman. Clemens will play it, 1 away. Well, today following the game, keep it right here for the Michael Kay Show and get instant analysis of this game, plus the hottest sports topics in New York and beyond. Catch it today after the game and every weekday afternoon right here on Yes. And since you're going to be seeing Michael in a minute, I'll just channel him right now, Flash. There's 1 away here in the 9th, but do the Yankees have a rally in their bones?
There we go. Spring training for us, too.
Armando Alvarez singled in the 7th. Carlton misses inside, 2-0.
Bob, just to put an exclamation point on what Flash said about Germán, there's a lot of spring training left, and this was a long road back for Germán, but what an encouraging sign for the Yankees, trying to figure out their rotation. And yes, there are a lot of pitchers vying for a spot in that rotation. Talented pitchers like Davy Garcia. We mentioned King and Nick Nelson. But if all is right in the world, the Yankees want Germán to have one of those spots. If he proves that he is anywhere close to who he was in 2019, a guy who had over 140 innings, you want him in your rotation.
Well struck to second base, but a ground ball out, 2 away here in the bottom of the 9th. And that'll bring up Hoy Park. Carlton has gotten behind the Yankees hitters in this inning, but always manages to work his way out of it. 2-0 pitch to Park. Misses away, 3-0.
Aaron Boone said he was going to watch the game on Yes. Think he's still with us? You think he's hung all the way through?
Absolutely. He's thinking, I'm giving Park here the 3-0 swing sign. Let's end this thing.
By the way, I think he is too.
So what you're saying is he wants to see what happens. It's not about us. He doesn't care that it's us.
Wants to see the action on the field.
Two-out walk by Park. Yankees have a man aboard, trying to push across a run and get a win here against the Tigers. Blackwood up in the pen for the Tigers as Michael Beltre comes to the plate. Beltre struck out swinging in his first at bat in the 7th. Takes that one for strike one. Today's attendance at George M. Steinbrenner Field, 2,352 fans through the turnstiles to enjoy this afternoon ball game. And a competitive one at that as the runner goes and the ball squirts away and into left field. So Park will advance to third. Yankees pushing at Park with a stolen base. And then the error, he's at third with 2 away.
Bob, shame on me to ever bring up whether Aaron Boone was watching as we take one more look at this. And we're going to see the throw is in the dirt, and a good job by Park. Doesn't hesitate, sees the opportunity, and dashes 90 more feet. Text from Aaron Boone. Yes, he is still watching.
Good.
So of course he's keeping tabs on everything that's going on. He hopes to be back to work, he said, by tomorrow, maybe Sunday.
Wow, a high strike there for Beltre, who did not agree with that call. And despite the fact that Park hustled his way to third there, the Yankees end up in a 1-1 deadlock with the Detroit Tigers. So not ending the way the Yankees wanted it. They were looking for a little rally in the bottom of the 9th, and that did not happen. But some good storylines from today's game, including, we mentioned Domingo Germán, 2 innings of 1 hit ball, no runs, and 4 strikeouts. As the Yankees and Tigers tied at 1. Gleyber Torres that solo home run in the 4th inning. One of 6 Yankees hits. 1-4-2 for the Tigers. 1-6-0 for the Yankees. Yankee spring training record now 3-2-1. Well, that will do it from George M. Steinbrenner Field. Special thanks to producer Troy Benjamin, director Dan Barr, Mike Webb, Jared Boschnak, and our executive producer is Mr. John J. Filippelli. Join us again Sunday for Yankees baseball as the Bombers take on the Phillies from George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. Coverage begins at 1 o'clock on the Yes Network. Once again, the final score, Tigers 1, Yankees 1. For John Flaherty, Jack Curry, and Meredith Morakovitz, I'm Bob Lorenz. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have a great night. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
Proper whiskey.